game.
Welcome in on a Wednesday morning, a little foggy, a little rainy, depending on where you are at. But welcome in, Bill Gunner, Patrick Perret, Jen Jensen, getting you up and going on Wednesday, March the 9th, 6:03 a.m. Probably nobody in this town more excited to be going to work this morning than Patrick Perret, who
Yeah. Well, I have bad news. I used K-Cups. I accidentally reused one this morning. I had two in my hand. This mug takes two at the maximum size, and I had two in my hands and was trying to do it all with one hand. And I guess I pulled one out and then stuck it right back in there. I thought I'd switch it out because then I looked down and saw that neither of the two that I was going to use had holes punctured in them. So my coffee, and I put creamer in today, which I never do. So I'm just drinking basically French vanilla flavored water.
Okay.
And it's gross.
Okay. So if you think Patrick is usually grizzled, Jen, that would be the
Usually
case.
it's usually the bright spot of my morning is the coffee. Keeps me going.
So you couldn't just because you were out of creamer, you couldn't restart the process?
I realized I had already put creamer in it, and I'd already started brewing the second cup on top of the first one, so I would have just wasted way too much coffee. I just decided that I would drink the half cup of real coffee.
Okay.
It's terrible.
Okay. If you want to stop by the place here,
if I get anything wrong today or seem like I'm in a bad mood, that's why.
Okay, good. So we might have a cranky Patrick this morning. That's all right. We'll deal with that. We got plenty to get into. I would imagine some cranky South Carolina fans. Yesterday, baseball did not go as planned. They got the game in. Hey, good job on that one. Unfortunately, Xavier
they shouldn't have.
Yeah, unfortunately, Xavier absolutely pummeled South Carolina last night, 15-7. Patrick, we'll there's a lot to get into today. We'll get into this, but we talked about, needing a get right weekend, maybe coming off of the Clemson series. Last night we said, all right, well, it's not a get right weekend. You get kind of a get right day, but Xavier scores 7 runs in the 4th. They add on 2 in the 7th, 3 in the 9th. All of it totals up to a 15-7 victory for the Musketeers. They had 15 hits. South Carolina's pitching really not able to do very much there throughout the day. The Gamecocks would trot out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different pitchers yesterday, and not really any of them able to do much. It was Aiden Hunter who took the loss, just pitching 1 1/3 innings, giving up 5 hits, 6 runs, just striking out 1. Patrick, again, there's a lot we'll get into this morning, but we'll start with this here. This team, now you get number 1 Texas coming in. The fan base is down. I can read Twitter. I'm sure that the text line will not be much better this morning. Number 1 team comes to town, and this team right now feels like they are searching for an identity, for momentum, for confidence, for pretty much anything you need in baseball to get better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Xavier is 3-9.
They were 2-9. They are now 3-9.
Yeah. So it's not even like you just got beat by a good big time mid major. You have to win games like that, especially after you just got spanked over the weekend by your rival. You have to come out there motivated, and that just clearly was not the case. And even on your home field, it's very deflating. I don't know. I don't really know how to spin it. I would have liked to come in here and try and take the positive side of things and be like, hey, it's too soon to really take anything out of a game like this. And maybe it is. I mean, there's so much baseball left to be played. If South Carolina somehow manages to win 2 or 3 this weekend, no one's going to care that they lost to Xavier. But it's just hard to imagine that with the number 1 team coming into town and you can't even beat a mid-major from Cincinnati. And I don't know. I don't know what the resolution is. I mean, you still do have Will Sanders. You feel confident that on Friday he can carry you 6 or 7 innings, and if he does that, you just cross your fingers and hope that the relievers don't blow it, and you get 1 win on Friday, and then somehow piece together a victory and couple big swings and couple fluke runs here or there, and maybe you can do it. But I don't know. I don't know what the positive is at this moment. If obviously if the season continues to trend this way, you're not going to win very many baseball games, and probably Mark Kingston's not going to have a job this time next year.
No, and you look at it the next 3 weekends, as you just mentioned, Texas this coming weekend, who's number 1 in the updated D1Baseball.com poll. Texas is number 1, Tennessee is up to number 10, and Vanderbilt is number 4. That's your next 3 series, the Texas and Vanderbilt series here at Founders Park, Tennessee, on the road in Knoxville. So things don't get any easier. If you want to weigh in on that this morning, 803-404-6100. That's how you can join us this morning via the text line or the Love Chevy phone lines. As always, you can hop on the Buford Lending live stream and be a part there if you want to join in. Robin, Anthony, DC, RL, trying to get the conversation started there. You can go be a part of it if you'd like to. Go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, and click and subscribe if we ask of you on our YouTube page to join in the chat there. So a lot of ways to get involved. So baseball yesterday did not go as planned. 15-7, the Xavier Musketeers knock off South Carolina. The Gamecocks dropped to 7-5 on the season. Again, that next contest will be Friday night, 7 o'clock, first pitch time over at Founders Park. And again, it'll be number 1 Texas rolling into town. We'll continue to talk about the game that was last night, although not a whole lot to say, but we'll continue to talk about the game that was from last night throughout the morning. Again, if you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. Other news yesterday, Darren Horn. Patrick, you don't remember the Darren. You weren't around for the Darren Horn days.
All I remember is Frank Warren.
The tweet that I put out last night, Drew, I think people took it the wrong way because I was just pointing out the Darren Horn. Darren Horn's probably up there in terms of disliked former Gamecock coaches. It might be Brad Scott, Will Muschamp, and Darren Horn in some form, some shape or form there. It's definitely a kind of a voter's choice on that one. But I happened to be flipping around last night, look over at, I think it was ESPN, and it was Northern Kentucky, not North Kentucky, but Northern Kentucky. And they are in the Horizon League championship game. And that name, I was like, I think Darren Horn is there. Patrick, this was a guy who came in. I had a lot of interesting interactions with Darren Horn. He typically thought he was the smartest guy in the room. And he was a very smart guy. He just made sure you knew you were not as smart and or good looking or pretty much anything compared to him. One of my favorite interactions was his first year. They went down to Alabama. One of the few times that they go to Tuscaloosa. Mike Holmes tipped in a shot there at the buzzer to win. And we're in the post-game kind of press conference deal. We did it out in the hallway, and it ends. And I just kind of looked at him and said, hey, good win, coach. Always good to go on the road and get a win. He goes, they're all good. Said, okay, well, all right. Could have just said thanks.
Take the compliment, yeah.
Thanks would have worked. But all right, we'll go with they're all good because I'm an idiot. I got it. You don't think I'm very smart. So he was an interesting character when he was here. A lot of interesting conversations with him through my years. But last night I flip over. They're up big. They were actually up 16. And Darren Horn, who, again, came to South Carolina, Patrick, because he had one NCAA tournament appearance at Western Kentucky, which is alma mater. They actually won a game in the NCAA tournament. Might have won 2. I can't remember if they won 2 or just got past the first round. And came here, had a great first season. They went 21-10, 10-6 in the SEC. Had actually a very underrated team. If people remember that team, had Devin Downey, Dominique Archie, Brandis Rayleigh Ross, Sam Frederick, Mike Holmes, Sam Muldrow. They were a pretty good team. And then things fizzled out to what I will consider the all-time low of South Carolina basketball, which then Frank Martin had to come in and has done a really good job of cleaning up. But I look over last night, and Darren Horn's in the Horizon League Championship with an opportunity to go to his second NCAA tournament in 3 years. The first one he would have gone to got canceled. That was the COVID season. So I put that tweet out, and Gamecock fans didn't really care to respond to that. Darren Horn would end up in Northern Kentucky, would lose that game last night.
Wow. I thought this was going to end with you.
No,
and he's back.
No, I might have jinxed him or cursed him or did whatever. There was a big comeback there by Wright State and Gamecock fans everywhere because there wasn't a whole lot going on. Baseball game had already ended. You needed something good in your life.
This was way to feel good.
This was something good, yeah. Wright State pulls off the comeback, and instantly, whatever the mascot is for Wright State, the Gamecock fans were living vicariously through them. So that was the basketball news of the night. ACC basketball tournament did get started. Clemson rolled over NC State last night. And Patrick, one thing, and there's NFL news. I'm kind of easing our way toward it. One thing I noticed, NC State last night, and you're an ACC guy, they're awful.
Yeah.
Like
Where did they go?
They've completely fallen off the map. They were 4-16 in conference play this year. Kevin Keats, the coach up there, they went 11-21 in overall this year. Clemson last night 70-64 victory. PJ Hall, who's been really good the last half of the season, 18 points last night for the Tigers. They went 70-64 and advance to today's portion of the ACC tournament. But yeah, like
What
NC
happened
State,
to them?
you
Whose
talk
fault
about
is this?
Mark Gottfried put them in some bad positions there. Some recruiting.
They also had some good teams, though, right?
Had some pretty good teams, yeah. And so
they were always like, it was always Duke and UNC is what you would get up for, but NC State was always a great game. And they had, I don't know if they were ever number one or like top seeds, but I always felt like they were in the tournament and always had talented players. I don't know. Maybe I don't think they ever won. When's the last time they won a national championship? Have they won a national championship?
North Carolina State?
Yeah, when's the last time they won one?
What year was it? It was the Jimmy Valvano. They've won 2. Remember we talked about that yesterday. One with David Thompson.
Yeah, the 83 was the
7. I think 83 was the Jimmy Valvano. They go and they beat Houston, and the cardiac pack or whatever they were called. Survive and Advance was the 30 for 30 you were talking about yesterday. But yeah, I noticed that happened to like catch my attention yesterday as I was watching a little bit of NC State and Clemson, and it was entertaining, not in the good way, but certainly Clemson gets the win last night. But yeah, NC State. Kevin Keats was expected to be this great mid-major guy coming in, was going to resurrect NC State coming off of Sidney Lowe and coming off of Mark Gottfried and everything that North Carolina State had done the last few years. I don't know. It's his 5th year, and they've gotten worse every year, and I don't know if he'll survive, and that would be another job opening that would be out there if you talk about NC State potentially looking to make a move.
It's a pretty sought-after job, right?
It would be. It's a good job.
Is it clearly third? Would it clearly be the third best? Is it a better job than Maryland?
No, I don't think so. But as it would be the third best. Yeah, you'd have Louisville. I'd have Maryland, Louisville, and then because Maryland could pay if they wanted to, Big Ten money could hypothetically pay more money. So, yeah, that would be the other thing. Again, Clemson today will move on in the ACC tournament. There certainly,
and Wagner embarrassed themselves.
I was going to get to that. That was the other storyline from last night. I thought about putting out a tweet, but then the way my Darren Horn tweet was going, I didn't want to like risk upsetting more people. Yeah, last night Wagner and Bryant play. Bryant got out to a huge lead, and it was like a big celebration. The ESPN was kind of flipping back and forth, cutting to live shots, and all of a sudden they stopped, and then the game ends. The game that I was watching, and they started showing what happened with your former fan base who used to pull for you in lacrosse. They apparently went all hockey style.
The players were getting involved too. It was ugly.
If you didn't see that, a fight breaks out in what league is that?
The Northeastern Conference.
The Northeastern Conference, yeah, between the fan bases, between Wagner and Bryant. It sounds like two.
It's a heated rivalry.
Sounds like Jen. That sounds like two northern preppy kids right there, Wagner and Bryant, that actually fought. It was two basketball teams that fought last night, and
Staten Island and Providence, Rhode Island.
It was something. Like if you haven't seen, you'll see it if you look on SportsCenter this morning. They'll show it. Like it turned into quite a little brawl there at Bryant College, I believe is where they were at.
Yeah, it was at Bryant. I wonder what the talk is on Grimes Hill today. Probably not great.
It was an interesting night of basketball.
I mean, I only spent 1 year there, but I do anytime they're on TV, I'll just throw it on and be like, oh, look at that. I've been there. I've been in that gym. I've watched a basketball game there. I don't know anybody there anymore because I've been graduated too long, but yeah, not how I wanted my old stomping grounds to be displayed on the national stage. Yeah.
And it's funny when you're typing in on Google, you put Bryant Wagner and you start to type basketball and it starts to already pre-populate basketball fight.
Yeah.
So clearly this has been Googled a couple times.
It was something last night. Interesting night in the college basketball world as we move through March Madness. It was madness last night, no doubt. ACC tournament gets going. SEC tournament gets going tonight. The bottom seeds will face off Ole Miss and Missouri, 6:00 there in the first round. I did mention Clemson. They will play Virginia Tech and Mike Young tonight at 7:00 up in Brooklyn. And then Georgia Vanderbilt. That should be a true barn burner down in Tampa tonight as well. So SEC, ACC both get going. We will get into all of that this morning. Is a lot to get to with college basketball. Certainly a lot to get to starting in the next segment with the NFL. Russell Wilson. Patrick, I saw the Aaron Rodgers news. We had discussed it yesterday. I saw the Aaron Rodgers news and then went to pick up Austin in the pickup line, and all of a sudden my phone starts going off. I'm trying to they frown upon you being on your phone as you're trying to pick up your children in the pickup line. So
that's a bad example. No texting while driving.
It's multiple reasons. Is it not good? Which I totally understand. But I was trying to figure out what was happening. And Austin gets in the car. He's got his iPad where he gets sports notifications. He was the one who had to read me the Russell Wilson trade. And not only did that happen, then the Seattle Seahawks kind of lost their mind and put out a tweet. Did they have since deleted because they've been made fun of? Do you know what tweet I'm referencing?
Don't think so.
Okay, yeah, it's on Twitter this morning. The Seattle Seahawks trade Russell Wilson to Denver Broncos. Yeah,
I see it.
For some reason they thought it would be funny to put out the Castaway tweet of Tom Hanks losing the volleyball Wilson.
To be fair, it is kind of funny. It's probably not what the fans wanted.
Yeah. So we'll get into those two big moves yesterday.
They should have put out the water boy Rob Schneider. Great, we suck again. That's what they should have put out.
It's going to be something. It's going to be something. So we'll get Patrick's take on that. Aaron Rodgers, 4 years, $200 million, $163 million guaranteed.
Dodgers be $50 million a year.
Yeah, good call on that. So we'll cover all that.
Who is worth that? I don't understand.
I'll tell you who's not worth it. Jordan Love.
Mitch
This is when you realize how bad Jordan Love was. Like, you realize how big of a mistake you made, and you're like, we have no other options but to pay this guy, or else we go to 2-14. It was that right there. I mean, this was a franchise who really is. Do you think does the Packers have a first round pick
this year? Yeah.
Okay. We are assuming they will spend it on an offensive player at this point, right?
They were smart. Yeah. They were smart. I think it's 28.
Yeah, it's late. I knew it would be in the final 5 or 6 there. But yeah, you will assume that if you're going to spend $50 million, you're not drafting.
If I was a Packers fan right now, I would be crossing my fingers that Jameson Williams falls because of the torn ACL.
Okay.
That would be the dream scenario for the Packers.
We'll get into all that this morning. Is again a busy day in the NFL yesterday, certainly, and we'll get Patrick's take on that. 803-404-6100. And again, we led off the program. South Carolina baseball 15-7 loss yesterday to Xavier. That drops the Gamecocks to 7-5 on the season as they get ready for number 1 Texas coming in this weekend. Chase weighs in on the text line, says it's not just pitching. Our defense is letting us down too. We have 11 errors in the season and 8 in the past 4 games. It was a rough day for the Gamecocks yesterday, but I'm guessing make us feel all better to tell us it'll be all right.
Maybe.
Gamecock Larry is on the Love Chevy phone lines. Let's get out to him. Gamecock Larry, how you doing this morning? What's going on in your world?
I don't know. I'll tell you what. I wasn't going to call in no more for a couple of days, but looked over at my phone about 3 o'clock. I seen the light blinking, and there was a message and to me it said, Tanner, if nobody can, anyway Tanner can. If anybody can mess it up, if nobody can't mess it up, Tanner can.
Did it say Ray Tanner, he's our man? If he can't screw it up, nobody can?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like he said. But I'll tell you what, so this morning,
a group text message.
Yeah.
So this morning I get up and I call that number, and I couldn't get no answer. Got a mailbox hadn't been set up yet. Well, let me tell you something, Root Hog. The good-looking, beautiful talking, they called you a coward. You can dish it out, but you can't take it. Why didn't you answer your phone? But now let's talk about that baseball game yesterday. I'm about through with baseball. I guess I'm not going to give up on football, on basketball, the men's basketball yet. I'm not going to give up on the ladies. Well, the ladies going to win everything. but I'm waiting for football. But we're going to be okay. But as guys, people, fans, well, Root Hog ain't no fan of the Gamecocks, but it's people like him that caused my athletics director to run Skip Holbrook off. And you keep running your mouth on social media and all that, and you're going to cause my athletics director to he's going to cause my athletics director and basketball coach to part ways. You guys, if you don't like him, just I can't tell you to keep your mouth shut because I open mine all the time. But I'm aggravated, but I ain't gonna say no more. I wasn't gonna call, but Root Hog, you can dish it out, buddy. Remember what you said. You can dish it out, but you can't take it. You won't answer your call. Got a mailbox hasn't been set up yet. Well, set it up, buddy, because I'm coming after you. I'm aggravated. I ain't gonna call no more until sometime Monday or Tuesday next week.
What?
I'm gonna just listen to them. Go Gamecocks.
You gotta call Friday?
Mad.
Anthony sums it up well on the Buford Lending live stream. He says Gamecock Larry is one of the only people I know who wakes up at 3 a.m. to settle a beef from a phone call
on the radio.
Got to get up early. Yep, got to get in. The phone line, stay busy. If you want to wait,
the show doesn't start till 6.
Yeah. Well, he's got to get fired up and ready though.
Yeah.
Get his coffee and stuff. But I will say, and I did tell Larry on the phone, absolutely, Root Hog is a coward. If he's not allowing a rebuttal via phone, then he can dish it out, but he can't take
I
it.
think he's figured it. I think he's figured it out. He knows that about 6:20 is Gamecock Larry time on the early game. That's when we give Gamecock Larry his ability to, or his opportunity to get peace of mind with the world and with the Gamecock fan base and with Root Hog. And I think Root Hog has figured that out. If he takes the phone call, this is actually brilliant on Root Hog is actually helping our program.
Yeah.
I'm kind of appreciative because if he takes the phone call, Gamecock Larry all that pent up frustration and anger is gone, and we don't get whatever that just was for 3.5 minutes.
So he's helping us.
He's helping us is the way I view it. Root Hog is helping create.
So he's like an associate producer.
He's creating content on our program by getting Gamecock Larry ready to go, and then he just turns him loose on our program, and I appreciate that from Root Hog. 803-404-6100. Yeah, the NFL was wild yesterday. The Seattle Seahawks picked up or started their complete rebuild. The Denver Broncos have pushed all the chips in. They traded basically everything that they had rights to for the next few years in terms of the draft to get Russell Wilson. We'll get Patrick Pratt's take on that. Aaron Rodgers is back with the Green Bay Packers financially. I have no clue how they're going to make that happen. Maybe you can explain that to me. A whole lot to get into. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up on the next Extra Point.
Hey guys, Pearson Fowler from the Extra Point here. Coming up on the Wednesday Extra Point, we will start to preview South Carolina's first game in the SEC tournament against Mississippi State. The all-SEC teams and the all-defensive teams, including one notable omission from South Carolina. We'll talk about that and continue to react to some of the big news out of the NFL the last couple days. It's the Extra Point, 9 o'clock.
The Extra Point with Pearson, Preston, and Gamecocks.
Well, traffic-wise, it's not too bad out there right now. However, we do have some patchy, dense fog, so do be careful. Allow a little extra time and make sure those low-beam headlights are on. Expecting rain and storms today, 74 for the high, your overnight low of 51. And tomorrow, cooler, and we'll have some rain in the morning. It's 56. We're looking at a high for tomorrow, but right now we do have that fog. It's 63 at 107.5 The Game.
Morning, Jerry, Larry, RL, Anthony, Beverly. Good morning to everybody. Off and running, yeah. Gamecock Larry, definitely good job by Root Hog to get them all fired up and ready for our program. Saw that. That was awesome news on Dick Vitale.
If a former Jeopardy champion, Amy Schneider, got engaged to a woman, what was the point of changing her gender?
I'm gonna have to read that, I think.
You know what I mean? I mean, like, they don't.
I think Root Hog is a Gamecock fan, isn't he?
No, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to.
Are you sure?
I think.
I thought he was just a negative Gamecock fan. Why is the mic so sensitive? I feel like my microphone's more sensitive than normal.
Yeah, it does.
Just banging the mouse. That shouldn't be happening.
I just do speakers, but I don't know. Definitely. Jay's been working on the mic for Terry. Tricks me every time.
Oh my gosh. I was ready to. I don't know. Did it sound any different during the show? Is yours like that?
Is it? No, it seems to. Yeah, it seems
A little bit.
to be picking up very well. It seems to be. It's that, or it's your speakers are really doing well this month. What time does everything get started? Oh, early today. Syracuse and Florida State at noon. Boston College and Wake Forest. 2:30. Looks like more rain is on the way.
John Morant has 21 straight 20-point games.
John Morant's turning into an absolute monster. Just,
All right, here we go.
oh, is this how it's? No. Oh, that's the. My buddy Andy did text me and say that this guy was like wildly entertaining.
He's very cocky.
I can see that. That seems to be a technical. You telling him to calm down or stop that?
Oh my gosh.
And this is where the fight broke out. Yeah.
You hate to see it. It's not the Wagner I know. It's not what we were taught.
It was that Wagner.
That was at
What is
Bryant
happening? Why is 11 losing his mind?
because he got drilled by something.
Oh, did the shirtless guy threw something? Did that hit him?
Yeah, get the band out of there.
Yeah, see, he sort of.
Oh,
Yeah, well, he paid the price. $6:34 on a Wednesday morning, March the 9th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen. Hope you are up and doing well, or at least a lot better than the Wagner and Bryan students are today, as we were just watching the brawl that took place last night in the Wagner-Bryant game. Bryant won 70-43 to win the Northeast Conference Tournament final, and they will move on to their first ever NCAA tournament appearance. So there was that. That upset Patrick Perrette a little bit because Wagner.
it's not how we used to do it.
It's not. Yeah, you don't like to lose the fight on the court and in the stands. You like to win one of the
Yeah,
two.
It does crack me up just seeing these New York characters, though. Like that coach, that Bryant coach, has to be from New York.
Yeah,
That's such a New York Italian right there. And this kid, Peter Kiss, who's I guess leading the country in scoring. I'm looking him up. Yeah, he's from New York. Just the most Italian New Yorker of all time.
yeah. I was
Wearing a
trying
big gold chain and
to go back. Jared Grosso, I believe is how you said it. I think I've met
Grasso.
him. Grosso. I think I met him a couple times back when he was coming down south. I think he was at Fordham back then, and we had a couple interactions.
he had to be
just
from like Long Island
he
or New
looked
Jersey.
he looked familiar. Yeah, he was at Fordham back in 08, 09 is what I'm looking at, and then became their interim head coach. I thought he looked
Yeah, he's
familiar.
from Syosset, New York.
So
So Nassau County, Long Island.
So we've been talking a little bit about that the night that was in college basketball. Also talking about South Carolina's 15-7 loss to Xavier last night, a game that we thought South Carolina would maybe use as a get-right game, and they did get a 2-1. They a 1-0 lead that it looked like that they were going to be able to maybe get going in the first inning. The first inning was weird. Did you see the first inning?
No,
For
I
South
saw
Carolina
none
baseball,
of it. I was
29
right in my sleep time.
They threw Xavier through 29 pitches to start the game. Miles Halligan, I believe is how you say his name, threw 29 pitches in the first inning. He had 2 balks. He beaned a batter, and South Carolina still only managed to score 1 run in the first inning. Xavier would answer and take a 2-1 lead. South Carolina would answer and take a 4-2 lead in the third, and it looked like they might actually roll on to the victory, and then things went sideways in the fourth. Xavier scored 7 runs to take a 9-4 lead, and they never let up. They go on to win 15-7 over the Gamecocks. South Carolina drops to 7-5. Again, Aiden Hunter taking the loss last night. He's now 2-2 on the season. The big news, though, nationally yesterday, Patrick, I don't know which one was bigger.
Ovechkin tying Yamir Yager for third all-time in career scoring.
It was pretty massive. That certainly was big news nationally as well yesterday, although I think that took third place. The big news yesterday, which was bigger? The
Wilson.
Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, Russell
Because
Wilson was bigger.
just the size of Aaron Rodgers' contract, though, I'll debate you on this a little bit. I won't really say that you're wrong. I just will debate you for a second on this. The fact that we were able to come so full circle on Aaron Rodgers from where what was the Instagram thing he put out back before the season, he and Devontae Adams, that was essentially the last ride or the
It was just gratitude. I
Yeah.
think it was a dramatic thing about gratitude.
And then he had the photo where he was not in the picture. You know,
Yes,
he had the other 2 guys, but not him.
he was
Right.
thankful for them.
Like he was going to be.
He was on the
Separated.
heels of 2 weeks of consecutive enemas, though.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you're
That was
talking
the day you
no.
missed.
I'm talking about
Oh.
last August or July.
There's an Instagram thing?
He put out something. I think it was he and Devontae Adams both. They kind of shared it. It was
Oh, the Last Dance
the
thing?
Last Dance
Yes,
kind of thing where they
yes.
were almost portraying that this would be their last
Right.
trip around the sun together, I guess, and everything. And I
Just
guess
goes to show you can't trust Aaron Rodgers.
coming from a Chicago Bears fan,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's just what I mean is how far they were able to come, and I guess mend fences. I guess we talked a little bit about this yesterday. Patrick, again, 4 years, $200 million, $163 million guaranteed. They've apparently worked it where not only is Aaron Rodgers absolutely getting paid to wrap up his career, this will put him through the Packers organization until he's 42. So I'm going to assume that this is it for him. This is the contract that he will retire after. The deal has not yet been signed, according to Rodgers, as of yesterday afternoon.
I thought he kind of pushed back on the reporting as well.
He basically just said it had not been signed or agreed upon, but I think that was just Rodgers doing whatever
he
Aaron
said,
Rodgers did.
"Hey, everyone, just wanted to clear some things up. Yes, I will be playing with the Packers next year, but reports about me signing a contract are inaccurate. As the supposed terms of the contract I quote unquote signed, I'm very excited to be back."
Yeah,
I don't know.
I still that's a lot of money is what it's looking like. It does reset the quarterback market for guys moving forward. Who is the next guy, real quick, and then we'll move on to Russell Wilson? Who is the next guy that can reset the quarterback market? Is it Josh Allen? Is it Justin
No,
Herbert?
because they've already. Well, it's probably Herbert. I mean, Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson are next up, but they're not going to get $50 million a year.
Kyler Murray should never not get
So
close.
Josh Allen signed his deal. Mahomes signed his deal. Deshaun Watson signed his deal. Russell Wilson has signed a deal. His new contract might be close to that, depending on how he plays this year. But probably when you talk about guys that are legit, have that type of talent, it's going to be Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert. Same year. So
803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. Richard weighs in. Rodgers is a $50 million quarterback in the regular season and $10 million quarterback in clutch postseason games. Richard, I don't even know if he's $10 million right now. Richard said he's smart, though, because he used the media to put pressure on the Packers to break the bank. I don't
need the media.
I was going to say he just needed Jordan Love to continue to perform just like Jordan Love had performed in the Packers. That had to terrify the Packers beyond belief. And that's where you get this now. You get Aaron Rodgers back in Green Bay, and I'm with you. We'll see what they use their first-round pick on. We'll see if they're able to find a way to franchise or bring Devontae Adams back and upgrade that roster because, Patrick, the roster is good enough, I guess, to win a Super Bowl. I mean, it's you look at the NFC. I don't know what the Rams are necessarily going to look like when they get done here in the offseason. It's going to be kind of interesting when you talk about the Packers. It did say yesterday that upon the news of Aaron Rodgers going back to Green Bay, confirmed that he was going back to Green Bay, Green Bay's odds improved from 15-1 to win the Super Bowl to 12-1. Slight improvement, but an improvement nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean they're a fine roster. They're going to be worse because they're going to lose some people. They'll probably lose Devondre Campbell, who's probably the best player on their defense last year. But Jair Alexander was hurt for most of last season. He'll be back fully healthy. They also played the whole season without arguably the best left tackle in football. David Bakhtiari didn't even play, so that'll make their offensive line even better. But their offensive line really wasn't the issue last year. I think they're fine. They're fine enough. Maybe they can get someone else in there. Like if they lose Marquez Valdes-Scantling, then they need to get a speed threat in there. Maybe it's Will Fuller or one of these other free agents, but you just draft somebody. You just need a legit number 2 to Devontae Adams because there literally has not been anyone that's even remotely dangerous after him. He catches 90% of the balls that are thrown is Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams. You can't have that. That's why teams can really key on Devontae Adams in the postseason, and that's why they lose because he's their only option. So I don't know. Is it Jameson Williams? Is it Chris Olave? Garrett Wilson, one of the Ohio State guys? You have to draft a receiver with your first pick. I don't know how you sign Aaron Rodgers and then say, okay, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to draft a linebacker with our first pick. You can't do that.
I would assume, and I think, look, I think Aaron Rodgers as a competitor and winning is important to him. The question is winning the highest prize important to him, or is it just simply all about having really good numbers and getting to 13 or 14 wins and maybe not getting it done in the playoffs, because you're right. You've got to give him just a little bit of help, and we'll see if the Packers are able to do that as we go forward. We'll continue talking about that. We'll get into the Russell Wilson trade, because that is what Patrick Brett says was the biggest news
Just
yesterday.
because it's a change. The change feels like it's a bigger deal. If we had put the odds on will Aaron Rodgers stay or go or retire, I would think that the most likely would be that he probably stays in Green Bay. That's kind of what people are leaning towards, but Russell Wilson to Denver would have never been the favorite. So,
well, I'll ask you. We'll get into all this. Did it come out of nowhere? Because it looked like the Seattle had, after turning down the Commanders' offer of first-round picks, it looked like Seattle had kind of patched
they
things up.
prioritized the AFC. They wanted him to leave the
Right.
conference, which I think is dumb because they're going to suck anyway. So what's the point?
Yeah, they're not real. Well, we'll talk about that. We'll get into that. Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. I think that makes Jay Phillips very happy this morning. I believe he celebrated all night. We'll continue talking about that and more. You're listening to The Early Game on 107.5 The Game.
Okay, I have not heard that podcast, but now I think I'd like to. What's the name of it? I bet I don't know that.
I have not, Craig. Not heard it.
$6:50 on a Wednesday morning. Bill Gunner, Jen Jensen, Patrick Perrette, talking a little NFL. Aaron Rodgers back to the Green Bay Packers, and
Davante Adams tagged.
Devontae Adams tagged, yeah, and Marshall asking, has anyone figured out how exactly this contract is supposed to help the Packers with their cap space?
Nope.
No, it's going to take some.
It's not even official yet, so I
I
guess people will start breaking it down once the actual figures come out.
Yeah, advanced calculus is, I believe, what you needed to take to be able to understand that. We'll talk more about that. The other trade yesterday, or the other big NFL news, and this one probably bigger. Russell Wilson, Patrick. We've talked about the Denver Broncos, and we thought it would be Aaron Rodgers. We thought Aaron Rodgers would go with Nathaniel Hackett to Denver. You've talked a lot about their roster, how it's pretty much set up to win a Super Bowl, and now you get a guy who's won a Super Bowl and participated in another one in Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and I mean their roster did get worse because they had to trade Shelby Harris, who's a really good defensive tackle, and they had to trade Noah Fant, which is just another piece to that offense. But they're still going to be okay. I mean, the receiving core by itself is great. Russell Wilson's leaving a good duo in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but he's going to go get two 6'4", 6'5", 215-pound plus monsters in Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick, and then he's going to have Jerry Jeudy, who I think is going to be great next year. I thought he was due for a big year this year, but broke his ankle, and that set him back tremendously. But I think he'll do a really good job. And it's a good offensive line. It's not an elite offensive line, but it's good enough, and that's really all you can ask for at this point. The defense, I thought, is what's really going to be intriguing because their secondary is phenomenal. It's one of the best secondaries in football. Patrick Surtain, as a rookie, was incredible. They've got Ronald Darby. Justin Simmons is one of the best safeties in football. So, yeah, their defensive line will take a little bit of a step back, but it looks like Von Miller's trying to come home. I think that's what all signs are pointing to, is that he's going to sign back with Denver, which that usually doesn't work out when somebody trades you at the trade deadline, that you just end up coming right back. So Denver really lucked out there. Um, it's a great roster. It's a great team. Russell Wilson makes them a legit contender from day one. The only problem is just look around that division. That's probably the best division in football because you got them and the Chiefs, and then you got Justin Herbert and the Chargers, who by all accounts are up and coming. If Justin Herbert has a monster third year, they could have any range of outcomes. And now you got Josh McDaniels in Las Vegas with Derek Carr, who had a great year last year, and they were a playoff team. We'll see what happens there. I mean, that AFC West is absolutely loaded, and this was the discussion we had when we talked about Aaron Rodgers. Like, yeah, do you want to leave and go to Denver, where you might be happier, your old quarterback coach, the guy you love, but you're now in a division with Patrick Mahomes, and you're going to have to not only go through him and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson and all these great quarterbacks to get to the Super Bowl, but you got to play Patrick Mahomes twice a year anyway just to win the division. It's not going to be easy, but it wasn't. Seattle, they were on a train to nowhere. Their roster is not good. I think they're going to be horrendous this year. Drew Lock is not the answer. They released Bobby Wagner too, so they're going to be bad on both sides of the ball. And it's probably only a matter of time before DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett head out of town too. So if I was Pete Carroll, I'd just go ahead and retire right now because he's not going to be around for that rebuild.
Maybe, yeah, maybe get one more year. I don't know what his contract is, but certainly
I don't think he needs the money.
No, he shouldn't. But the Seahawks certainly going all in on the rebuild. The Broncos going all in on a Super Bowl. We'll talk more about this. Get back into the Aaron Rodgers news and some college basketball. A lot to get into as we roll along. Coming up at 8:05, Brian Edwards, a Vegas insider, will join us. We will get his picks as we start off SEC tournament play today, ACC tournament into the second round. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Got cold in here. Had to get turn the heat up. Like, yeah, the air conditioner came on. Had to good. Oh, that's what was that? I was gonna say totally blanked out. Oh. I was laughing yesterday because I watched Biden press up. It's just Craig, I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I did see where that was a good podcast.
And I don't know who you're talking about here, Larry. Mike Williams got to sign a big deal yesterday, though.
Yeah, that's what he's thinking. I think, what, 3 years, $60 million?
Yeah.
Seven a.m. on a Wednesday, March the 9th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrette, Jen Jensen, we carry you through here the early morning, getting you up, getting you out to work, getting the kids to school, whatever you got to do. Be safe out there, a little wet, a little foggy. Supposed to kind of clear up and then potentially some storms later this afternoon after about 1 o'clock. Just depends on the weather. I was looking at the radar here during the break. So a lot going on here this morning. We've been talking about South Carolina baseball. 15-7 loss yesterday to Xavier, a 2-9 Xavier team, to be honest. And that was a game in which Patrick and I yesterday on this program had talked about using as a get-right game. You get swept by Clemson, you lose a lot of momentum. Obviously, you can lose some confidence. And you saw this as an opportunity yesterday. The Gamecocks and Musketeers had met just once in their history. That was back in 1989, and the Gamecocks had won that one. Yesterday, however, completely different story. South Carolina gets out to a 1-0 lead, then takes a 4-2 lead, but 7 runs in the 4th inning spell doom. And the Gamecocks drop a game that, quite frankly, they should never lose. Should not lose to an Xavier team, not this program, not even this team, but they do that, and they fall to 7-5 on the season. Dan weighs in. He says 15-7 was bad enough, but throw in Xavier had 10 left on base. Donnie weighs in. He says, we've gone from the best program in the nation to the bottom tier SEC team, 41-49 in SEC since 2018 under Mark Kingston. Average finish overall in the league is 8th, even worse with Holbrook's last year. So a lot of you, understandably, not particularly pleased
Hard to
about
argue with that logic.
I'm not going to tell anybody no. I hold South Carolina baseball to an entirely different standard than I hold really any other program here too. Women's basketball certainly is now into that discussion, but South Carolina baseball in my lifetime, I've seen them play for 4, I believe, national championships. If I'm thinking correctly, 4. I saw Aaron Raw pitch against Texas. I should say by saw, I mean like watched on television. I haven't been to Omaha, but saw South Carolina play Texas in the 1-game national championship kind of playoff there, the way they used to do it as opposed to the best of 3. Certainly, I saw them beat UCLA, saw them beat Florida, and then watched them play Arizona. So I've seen 4 national championship appearances in my lifetime. I saw an unprecedented run by Ray Tanner with South Carolina baseball in which they didn't miss the postseason for, I believe it was 15 or 16 straight years. You basically set your clock to being able to do sports talk radio, Patrick, in the month of June when things slow down and having South Carolina baseball to discuss. There was a period there as I started doing sports talk radio where the Gamecocks getting to Omaha was basically a staple of my summer when they made 3 straight appearances. And that was before they won 2 of them. I think it was the early 2000s when they made 3 straight appearances. So, South Carolina baseball, I've always held to a higher standard. And look, simply put, yesterday was unacceptable. So fans that think that way, I'm not going to argue with you at all.
Well, and John texts in, how long are we going to be hurt? Asking for the whole fan base. We've been hurt for 4 years now. And I understand that point. I think that's also kind of fair because if you hold a team to that standard, then a couple injuries, I don't care where they are, is not does not cover up for losing to a team like Xavier, who was 2-9 coming into the night. There's no doubt that South Carolina is very banged up. It seems like all of their starting pitchers but one are hurt right now, and that is a legitimate excuse, but it's not an excuse for losing in a midweek game on your home field to a bad team. You should have 10 pitchers in your bullpen capable of going out there and mowing down Xavier. So that is a talent issue, and that comes back on the coach too. So I understand that.
I think it was David Cloninger who put out the tweet last night who said, "Yeah, the injuries are an issue. That let's not just gloss over the fact that there are injuries and that doesn't have an impact. But this is
There's a
South Carolina.
level.
There's South. This is South Carolina. You should be recruiting good pitchers. Those guys that got recruited, they're here for a reason. They're supposed to be good pitchers, and right now not doing that. So South Carolina's going to have to get things fixed in a hurry because in comes the number one team in the country, and they are rolling along. As Drew texted in, he says, "Watch Texas last night beat a good Texas State team. They will come in and hang 20 every game if the pitching doesn't improve." And that's the thing. You don't turn around and get a directional Louisiana or some kind of directional Georgia school or something like that. You get the number one team in the country, and then you go on the road to play the number 10 team in the country in Tennessee, and then you come back home to play the number 4 team in the country in Vanderbilt. It is
I don't know. Drew texted, watched Texas last night, said they beat a good Texas State team. They'll come in here and hang 20 every game if the pitching doesn't improve. Have we ever seen South Carolina get just completely embarrassed like that? I can't remember a series where it was just losing by 10 to 15 runs. If that's a legitimate possibility, that is terrifying. I could not imagine coming in here after giving up like 50 runs in a weekend.
803-404-6100 will text in. I'm not sure if he's being serious or not. I think he's joking. I think this is a joke. I'm not sure. He says, "All right, guys, let's pump the brakes a bit. Didn't we just host a super regional 9 months ago?" They hosted a super. They didn't participate in the super regional.
That I think he is joking.
Okay, just checking. I think he's joking.
Columbia hosted
Columbia
the regional.
hosted. Yeah. Well,
Batters Park hosted a regional.
Yeah, and they were the 2 seed in that. 803-404-6100. There was good Gamecock news last night. Might have been a little off the beaten path for you, but our good buddy Alan Sirwa, who joined us with Gamecock Hockey, with Cock Hockey a couple weeks ago, they made the CHF Hockey Federation Cup. They will be in a pool with, I never know how to say this, Quinnipiac, South Carolina, the Cortland University Red Dragons. Are you familiar with that? Okay? Cortland, and the University of Tampa Spartans. So they will be in pool play for an opportunity to go to the Nationals, which will be held March 17th to the 24th in Philadelphia. So I guess they will be up in Philadelphia for that March 17th to the 24th. So kudos to them, to our buddy Alan. Coach Alan Sirwa with the hockey team and those guys. They are into the postseason, so good for them. But certainly the baseball news not as positive yesterday. The other news yesterday nationally coming from the NFL as Russell Wilson, the trade to the Denver Broncos, Aaron Rodgers, the reported 4-year, $200 million deal. And again, Patrick, back to this Russell Wilson deal. What is fair to expect now from the Broncos? Because you mentioned, that roster had been really good. And they gave up a lot to get him. I mean, they gave up an absolute lot. They are mortgaging their future on him being the guy. And you got to remember, they're going to have a first-year coach in Nathaniel Hackett coming over as offensive coordinator from the Green Bay Packers. They give up tight end. They give up quarterback Drew Lock. That one doesn't really matter as much. But tight end Noah Fant, defensive lineman Shelby Harris, and then 2 first-round picks, the number 9 pick this year in 2022 and the first-round pick next year in 2023. They've given up 2 second-round picks, the number 40 overall pick this year, and they're giving up their pick next year, and they give up a 2022 fifth-round selection to the Seahawks. I personally think the Seahawks won this thing.
Oh,
I like what the Seahawks have done. Like you said, it's going to be a rebuild, but now you should have, I assume, 4 first-round picks over the next 2 years, and you should get 4 second-round picks. You've got a chance to really upgrade your organization over the next 2 years and maybe find some right components. I don't know where they go with number 9. Seattle, I guess, needs a lot of things. You mentioned losing DK Metcalf likely here
Well,
in
just
the
anyone because they're gonna stink.
right.
But they don't have the Seahawks, so they get 2 first-round picks. They traded 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams. They're not picking in the first round this year because they traded for Jamal Adams. He stinks. So the Seahawks also draft terribly. I'm gonna pull up the Seahawks draft history. Like, they are not a good drafting team in the first round. I don't know when they've hit on first round picks, but they've gotten lucky in the later rounds because third round pick Russell Wilson, second round pick DK Metcalf. They've generally done pretty well. But last year, I mean, Dwayne Eskridge, Trey Brown, and Stone Forsythe. That's all they drafted. They drafted 3 players last year. None of them contributed. The last 2 years before that, LJ Collier from TCU, complete bust. Jordan Brooks, linebacker from Texas Tech, complete bust. Before that, it was Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny had a second half of the season breakout this year in year 4. So a running back who took 4 years to break out. Malik McDowell, who I think got arrested again this past a couple months ago. Jermaine Ifedi, a guard. They're not good at drafting. So if they come away with this having completely rebuilt their team, I'll be stunned. Like, normally you get a superstar quarterback, that's going to be worth it because it's what the next 2 drafts. Does anything even filter into the draft 3 years from now? I don't think it does. So you sacrifice all those picks in the next 2 years. You're not going to get a Russell Wilson back from that. No one. You can draft 2 a great corner, a great wide receiver, a couple good linemen, and a linebacker. That's not going to make you better than having an elite quarterback on your roster. So no, I don't think anytime this trades like this happen, I don't think the team that loses the superstar quarterback is ever going to win the trade. So we'll see what they do with it. If they draft Malik Willis this year and he's a bust, well, you just burnt one of your cards. If you go into next year and you say, all right, well, Malik Willis wasn't any good, or the worst case, you try and build around Malik Willis for 3 years and he just turns out to be another one of these guys that just wasn't quite good enough, and you got to keep restarting and keep throwing darts and trying to figure out who your next franchise quarterback is. Washington's been trying to figure out who their franchise quarterback is for, I don't know, 20 years, 15 years. Maybe you say Robert Griffin was for that 1 year that he made a playoff run, but obviously he wasn't the future. So no, it's always a dangerous game trading an elite quarterback, and the Broncos are going to contend for the next 4, 5, 6 years. I don't know. He's only 33 years old. If he can play until he's 38, that's 5 years of being a legit championship contender, while the Seahawks are just going to be absolutely horrendous. They should be one of the favorites to get the number 1 pick next year because that roster is bad.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Several of you doing that on different topics here this morning. Richard saying, is Seattle setting up for a run at Deshaun Watson after his criminal ruling this Friday? We'll talk more about this. We'll get back into the baseball. I believe coming up at 7:40 this morning, our buddy Kyle Thompson will join us to talk a little PGA Tour. The boys are down at Sawgrass this weekend, the Players Championship. Want to get Kyle's take on the Players Championship, and then Roy McIlroy. Kyle brought this up, Patrick, last week. And McIlroy saying he wants the PGA Tour to be more transparent when it comes to suspensions and things of that nature. Very interesting after what Kyle said last week as what could be going on. And also, did you see the PGA Tour commissioner, Jay Monahan, wanting to speak with Phil Mickelson before Mickelson plays again?
Why can't he just call him?
That's a good question.
They don't have each other's numbers.
He says PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan said he hasn't spoken to Phil Mickelson since his explosive comments about the tour were published last month. But Monahan said it's a conversation that will have to take place before the 6-time major champion returns to play. We'll get all that. We'll catch up with, again, Kyle Thompson at 7:40. Okay, not 7:40. He's dropping his daughter off. We might move that a little bit. He says 7:50. I don't want to let him know that he'll have a 3-minute segment, so we won't be doing that. We'll orchestrate. I understand you're out there dropping kids off to school. On the early game, we like to coordinate and make it all work well. We'll talk with Kyle Thompson this morning. We'll also catch up at 8:05 with Brian Edwards, a Vegas insider. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Uh-huh.
He was going the Wagner guy that was going like this and trying to get in the crowd. I saw him. His teammate was holding him back, and he's clearly going, "That's my mom, bro."
Oh.
So he was worried about his mom being in the middle of the fight.
Oh, yeah, we're watching the Wagner fight again. 153 guaranteed. I said 163. 163.
I would love to hear that. This rant from the school president.
Is that something they do? The one dude holds up the L.
That's nothing Bryant related. Oh my gosh, that guy's 40. Ugh, Jared Grasso. His uncle, he definitely has family in the mob.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Like uncles. That's how I look at the Cowboys, RL. They're never actually going to win a Super Bowl, but they'll make the playoffs most years. Is they get hyped up as contenders year in and year out. Maybe the Colts.
$7:20 on a Wednesday morning, March the 9th. Hope you're doing well out there as we kind of plug along. College basketball last night. I mentioned this start. A lot of you, Patrick doesn't quite understand it, but a lot of you probably would understand where I was coming from as I was flipping around the television and watching March Madness last night. Tournament week, you get a lot of the smaller tournaments, the championship games that take place. It really was a fantastic game on Monday night. Chattanooga and Furman. Chattanooga hitting the buzzer beater there to get into the NCAA tournament. Last night, a couple different championship games. Gonzaga punching their ticket to the NCAA tournament. No shock there. They were going to be an at-large anyway. But Wright State was the one last night. They knocked off Northern Kentucky. And if you weren't listening in hour number one, or you weren't on Twitter last night, or you don't know why I'm bringing up Northern Kentucky, well, it's because they're coached by one Darren Horn. It took me a moment to remember that. And Patrick wasn't around for the Darren Horn era that was South Carolina basketball, and Horn left South Carolina basketball in about as bad a place as I'd ever seen it. It was really bad. Maybe if it wasn't on par with what Steve Newton left, it wasn't far behind. And Frank Martin had to come in and really clean this program up and re-energize the fan base. And I think I know some people, that's a whole different story on where people are at today, but what Frank Martin inherited from Darren Horn was really, really, really bad. And Darren Horn went on, he got a job working with ESPN for a few years doing television work. Then he ended up taking a job on Shaka Smart's staff at Texas. And he got back into being a head coach 3 years ago at Northern Kentucky, where his first year at Northern Kentucky, they actually won the Horizon League championship. and qualified for the NCAA tournament only to have the tournament canceled because of COVID. Last year they didn't qualify, and this year he had Northern Kentucky in the championship game with an opportunity to win it last night. They were up 16, Patrick. That's kind of the crazy thing. And I just put on Twitter, just because, again, I kind of stumbled across this thing. I put on Twitter, I was like, Darren Horn's got a chance to make his second NCAA tournament in 3 years. And I don't know, that's not really what Gamecock fans would probably want to see, not from a standpoint of their own fan base, but Darren Horn is up there with disliked coaches at this university for kind of the way he acted, for what he did to the basketball program. There's a couple different things there, and it would have been interesting to see him back into to get to the NCAA tournament for, I guess, the first time, because he didn't get to go the other time he qualified. But it would have been pretty interesting. And last night he was up. They were up big with about 10 minutes to go, and Wright State rallied, hit a shot with about 10 seconds to go, and Northern Kentucky could not get a good look at the basket, and they end up losing the ball game. But that's an interesting piece of basketball history, that Darren Horn back into the head coaching. It doesn't, for South Carolina across the board, by the way. Chad Holbrook, Darren Horn. I'm trying to think. I think J.C. Sherbert last night put out Bill Foster as one other guy. There's not a lot of head coaches in the major sports that go on to get another head coaching job after they get let go by the University of South Carolina.
I'm reading the replies to your tweet, and they are pretty funny. Someone says, what do you say? Something about shame on you. If we lose Frank, shame on us, and shame on you for this tweet and what it implies. So I didn't think your tweet implied anything.
I didn't see that one.
Shame on you for what it implies. But what's the Garnet Army student section?
That is
never
now
heard of
what
this.
is called the cockpit.
What's wrong with the idea of a student section?
No, they were trying to name it.
They were trying to name it the Garnet Army.
They wanted it to be the.
Is everyone in love with the cockpit? It's hard to come up with a nickname out of the blue without it just naturally happening.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, cockpit's fine, but do people get fired up to say I'm in the cockpit?
I don't. That's what it is. That's what it was last night, or that's what it's become. That's what they've gone with, and I think, obviously they've built, or they've put wrapping, or whatever you want to say, graphics there, as you can go down into the student section to make it look pretty good. But yeah, that was a part of it. Now, there was a lot that happened. There was a lot that happened there as it pertained to Darren Horn, the Darren Horn, which is why I put that tweet out last night, because he's not polarizing. Polarizing means some people will stand up for you and defend you. Darren Horn is pretty universally disliked by people at this university, and not just people at this university.
Seems like it.
Or not just the fan base, but by the media as well. I mentioned my interactions with him. We had some very weird, some were contentious, but we also had some very just flat out weird interactions. I mentioned the one where we were in Alabama, where he won a basketball game his first year, and I tried to congratulate him, just say, hey man, great win on the road. South Carolina doesn't ever beat Alabama. He's like, they're all good. And just said it in like a way that it was like, I'm a complete moron. I was like, all right, well, good for you, buddy. Just keep on rolling.
Good
And what happened was by the time he ended up obviously completely bottoming out, there was nobody left on his side. It wasn't media wasn't willing to defend him or try and help him get another year. The fan base absolutely despised him. He ended up having a rash of transfers there. The two major ones, DeMontre Harris, who was developing into a pretty good center, and Anthony Gill. So it was just interesting last night to flip over and see Darren Horn's face and him walking up and down the sideline with a chance to make the NCAA tournament.
I just typed in Darren Horn's name on Twitter just to see what people talk about. And it seems like Northern Kentucky fans on Twitter don't love Darren Horn either. I don't know. One person tweeted, just atrocious coaching, game on the line, and you don't even have the ball in either of the players' hands that got you there. Pathetic. Somebody said Darren Horn single-handedly lost Northern Kentucky the Horizon League championship. Seems like everybody just hates him.
Yeah, he's again, it was interesting, but that's why
I'm not sure that if Darren Horn walked into the studio, I would know that it was him.
He would make sure you knew it was him. Don't worry. He would make sure that you were aware of who it was.
I don't know. He doesn't really have a face that stands out. He does look pretentious though.
He by the end, he had been humbled. Again, I mentioned that there were some conversations there. By the end of it, he had been humbled pretty dramatically, and was a little bit different there at the end of his tenure. But again, that's why I brought that up. You had that game last night. Clemson knocks off North Carolina State. We kind of talked a little bit about that because North Carolina State, this is a program that's got a proud tradition that normally you count on to be right around the NCAA bubble, if not in. And North Carolina State this year, 11-21 overall, 4-16 in ACC play, and their season comes to an end yesterday at the hands of the Clemson Tigers. PJ Hall, who's been really good for the Tigers, former Dorman standout, scores 18 points last night. Clemson will play Virginia Tech, and another South Carolina connection there with Mike Young, the former Wofford coach, who's gone up to Virginia Tech and been able to do some good things up there in his first couple of years. The Hokies this year 11-9 in ACC play, 19-12 overall, and they will play Clemson tonight, 7 o'clock in the ACC tournament. The ACC tournament gets going again today at noon. Florida State and Syracuse is the noon game. And Patrick, again, just as I'm kind of going through some of these tournaments now, and we start to get into the big boy tournaments, we get into the ACC, the SEC starts tonight. As we start to get into those, there's another game that I'm just kind of mentioning that'll start off today of two teams that are really struggling right now, Syracuse and Florida State. Keep an eye on Florida State. I was talking to somebody this week, a person that's very familiar. Leonard Hamilton is 73. He'll be 74 next year. A lot of questions about whether this might have been his last year, whether when he gets away from basketball here in the next few weeks, if he decides he wants to come back, Florida State would be another job that could be on the job market. If not, a lot of people feel that next year could be Leonard Hamilton's
I think
last
next year will be Boeheim's last year too.
And then I was going to go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could see transition there. You could.
I think he's made comments about, there's a plan in place for me leaving. I think he said that he's going to come back next year, but has succession plans already made. I don't know if there's someone waiting in the wings, or there's an assistant that's been there for a long time, or a high-profile Syracuse alum, or if that's even a school that worries about keeping it in the Syracuse family, if it's that kind of brand. But Florida State and Syracuse would be monster jobs.
His two sons, Buddy and Jimmy Boeheim, both are seniors this year. And I don't know.
They probably have the COVID.
This was brought up, especially with Buddy Boeheim, the good one of the two.
That's mean.
the one that
Fair.
actually
Mean but fair.
helps the team. Buddy Boeheim, Buddy's averaging almost 20 points a game. Look, he is a solid player. Jimmy's averaging 13, but so
Not bad.
I was going to say, well, Buddy Boeheim's a really good player who might have might be able to get into the NBA, shoots the ball well, and does a couple different things. Jimmy Boeheim's real good, is a solid player too, but both of them are seniors. I don't know if they would come back. And you're right. You talk about Florida State opening up. You talk about Syracuse potentially opening up. North Carolina State feels like is around the corner, if not this year. You could see some serious movement in the college basketball coaching carousel.
What would Syracuse vault to the top job, or is Boeheim there's no one before Boeheim, right? Like Syracuse was a nothing program before Jim Boeheim. That's how I think of it. He's been there for almost 50 years, hasn't he?
Has he been? I don't think he's been.
I think it's been over 40. When Jim Boeheim's first year in Syracuse, I'm going over 40. Jim
Boeheim is 77 years old. Now you've got me interested.
His first year at Syracuse was 1969. He's been the head coach since 1976.
Wow. Yeah.
That is 46 years.
Okay. So, yeah.
And he started there over 50 years ago.
And he'll be 78 next year. He turns 78 November 17th. So,
just the fact that, he's going to have 1,000 wins next year if he coaches to 1,000.
Do you think he wants a send-off similar to what Krzyzewski just got? Like a one-year farewell tour? Or does he just hang it up at the end of the year? Because it does seem the timing is right for him. The timing would make sense for him. His sons are leaving.
Yeah, for sure. What, you mean next year? Having the send-off tour next year? Or just hanging it up this year?
Yeah, being at the end of the year. If his sons are taking off and he just says, you know what, I don't want to do I don't want to do that. We'll talk more about that.
Know.
We'll get into some we'll get back into the baseball.
It would stink to get overshadowed by Coach K. Having retiring the same year as Coach K. That would stink.
Well, Coach K's will be interesting to follow there as well, as it pertains to his final ACC tournament as well as the final NCAA tournament. We'll continue talking about that. Get back into some NFL as well. And coming up at 8:05, Brian Edwards, a Vegas insider. Kyle Thompson, our PGA golf professional, joining us in the 8 o'clock hour as well. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Tell you what, 2022 is rolling right along, and at Love Chevrolet, they know the difficulty of looking for a new car. It's been a little difficult lately. Love Chevrolet is aware of that. So if you've been looking for a truck or car or SUV right now, it's tough. But between a lack of inventory and some dealerships charging thousands above MSRP for ridiculous add-ons, it has just been absolutely frustrating for a lot of you. Love Chevrolet gets that, but they are not taking advantage of their customers right now. They will never sell over MSRP, and they're not about to stick any silly add-ons just to jack up the price. At Love Chevrolet, they like to treat their customers like their family members. That's why they've been in business for 60 years, for over 60 years, taking care of families just like yours, and they will continue to do it by doing it the right way, not adding extra price add-ons, not taking advantage of the customer. And with the largest selection of vehicles anywhere in the Midlands, Love Chevrolet has got you covered. Go visit them for yourself and find out. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can also visit them on the web, where you can actually speak online to one of their friendly, seasoned professionals who will help you order the vehicle, color, and equipment that you have been wanting. So go visit Love Chevrolet. You can do it in person, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or you can do it on the web, lovechevy.com. Whatever it is, Love Chevrolet has got you taken care of. Find out for yourself. Visit Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
Oh yeah, somebody's got to set up a just like they did for what was the last thing?
Oh, the bowl pick'em?
The bowl pick'em. Yeah, somebody's got to set up a bracket for the early game. See,
I didn't even think about this. Craig's question. Yes, that would actually be 50.
and I
Yeah.
had kids when he was at 58.
Yeah, 50, not 60, because they're not high schoolers. Buddy Boeheim doesn't tell me his birthday, but he is a senior. So let's just err on the side of old. Let's say he's 22, about to be 23, which is probably not right, but yeah. Boeheim was late 50s.
Well, he got remarried in 1997.
So yeah, he had kids in 2000.
Yeah, he was 53 when he got remarried. It's understandable.
Oh, I forgot about this. Boeheim announced in 2015 that he would retire in March 2018. However, following the departure of longtime assistant coach and expected successor Mike Hopkins, Boeheim extended his contract with Syracuse beyond 2017.
People also forget that he killed a guy. People do forget that. I forget that sometimes. But now I'm reading his personal life on his Wikipedia page. I'm like, oh yeah, Jim Boeheim killed a guy. Crazy.
Was the guy
I-
running?
No, his car broke down on the side of the road. Boeheim sped around it and hit the guy standing on the road. There's also, I don't remember this. Maybe I do remember this. Do you remember what he said? It says in March 2021, Boeheim received criticism for mocking a reporter's height during a post-game press conference. What did he say? He said something about, I'm not going to take advice from some 5'2" reporter or something like that.
7:38 on a Wednesday morning, March the 9th. Patrick Perrett, Jen Jensen, Bill Gunner, we're getting you through. Want to remind you, coming up, not next Friday, March 18th, but the following Friday, the golf tournament, the 2022 1075 The Game Spring Open has been moved to Friday, March 25th at the Windermere Club in Blythewood. It'll be a 10 a.m. shotgun start, two-person captain's choice teams. $200 per team. You can divide that by 2 and figure out it's $100 per person. No, we've done this now for what, about 5 or 6 weeks, and yeah, after messing up the first 6 or 7 times, they brought down the chalkboard. They explained it, showed me the division, got everything down cold. So, and then we practiced for 3 days over the weekend. Yep. Well, got it down cold. Appreciate you being here, Jen. Yep. The 1075 The Game Spring Open, Friday, March 25th. Again, it was originally scheduled for March 18th, which would have been next Friday, but we've moved it. So if you're just now catching this, you probably need to contact Windermere or make sure that you can still play March the 25th. Again, Windermere Club in Blythewood, 10 a.m. shotgun start. Two-person teams, $200 per team. Two-person captain's choice. Raffle prizes closest to the pin. $1 Million Hole, sponsored by our buddy Benji Getsy at Buford Lending. Breakfast and lunches included. All entries get a free golf membership up until March 31st. You can head over to 1075thegame.com if you are able to play now for registration information to sign up and join and be a part of that. We have talked about a lot this morning on the Buford Lending live stream. We were just breaking down the career of one Jim Boeheim. He's 77. I forgot he did agree to retire in 2018, but his longtime assistant, he was going to retire March 2018, but his longtime assistant, Mike Hopkins, left, and now basically they extended his contract for an unknown period. He's just basically working on a year-to-year contract if his sons leave. I could see him leaving, and you're right, that would create a enormous void. It'd be interesting to lose Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski, and
3 years in a row.
Jim Boeheim.
Back to back.
Yeah.
Who would be the old head coach?
Well, if you lose, if Leonard Hamilton's old. He's 73.
Yeah.
Jim Larenego's not a spring chicken either. Jim Larenego, I believe, is 70.
But when you talk about like true legends, like bigger than life college basketball legends, it's those 3. I guess
Calipari. Oh,
he's not that old though.
I thought you were just saying legends.
Yeah, but like the 3 old, like have been there since college basketball became, household sport, basically since before the 3-point line. Like who else is in? I guess Leonard Hamilton's in there, but he's never won a national championship. I don't know who else you throw.
What age are you going here? Because
over 70.
Okay, Tom Izzo's 67.
Tom
so
Izzo's
he's
kind of in that category. I would consider Tom Izzo
working his way there.
Tom Izzo has been at Michigan State for how long? Is it stupid if I ask you that he did recruit Magic Johnson, right? Or no?
I don't think he recruited Magic Johnson.
But was he not the head coach that long ago? I guess he's not that old.
Yeah, he started at Michigan State in 1983.
Mhm.
He became the head basketball coach in 1995, and I know
really that's it.
He came
I
out
would
there.
have guessed
Judd
for
Heathcote.
sure he's been coaching since he's been the head coach since the 80s. I don't know.
No,
maybe
Judd Heathcote was there. I still remember the Michigan State battles with Sean Respert and Eric Snow and versus Jalen Rose and Jimmy King and Chris Webber and all those
I
guys.
just assumed he was the same age as all those other guys. I guess he's a whole decade younger.
Speaking of Izzo, he just passed Bob Knight for most wins at a Big Ten school. Most ever wins, 663. Just passed him last. What was it on the 6th? What was the 6th? Sunday? Is that right? So this past weekend.
Jim Boeheim is 3 wins, according to this, 3 wins away from 1,000. Maybe he thought he was going to get it this year and then hang it up. Now he's got to coach a whole another year because he needs 1,000 wins. You can't retire and not have 1,000 wins. If you're Jim Boeheim.
I could see one
46
more year.
years and you can't get to 1,000. That's the milestone.
I could see one more year for him.
How many coaches have 1,000 wins?
Anonymous texter weighs in and also says Rick Pitino is one of those guys. It's probably another one. Pitino is 70. And then Corey weighs in and says West Virginia guy and Rick Barnes at Tennessee. Bob Huggins. I don't think Huggy Bear is.
Do you know where Huggy Bear lies on the all-time wins list?
He's up there.
He's number 6.
Yeah, he's had a career now. He had a great run at Cincinnati back in the day. He was obviously had one good season at Kansas State.
Where did he start? From 80 to 81.
So 80, 81. No, I have no clue on that.
Walsh College.
Okay.
Never heard of it, but apparently that's where he started. Yeah, Walsh. Where is Walsh? Walsh University. They're not a college.
New York.
North Canton, Ohio.
I was not close.
Okay.
That was my other guess.
Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're close.
Yeah, close. I asked how many coaches are over 1,000 wins. I didn't know that Krzyzewski was the only coach that's had 1,000 wins.
Okay, so Boeheim
could be the second coach to ever break 1,000.
He'll coach next year. 803-404-6100. We've been talking about that. Been talking about South Carolina baseball as well. 15-7 loss yesterday to Xavier. They fall to 7-5 on the season. Let's go out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Richard wants to talk a little baseball. Richard, how you doing this morning? What's on your mind?
Good morning. Well, I wanted to talk about what's left of the Once Proud program, the baseball team. I was willing to kind of go along a little bit, but after getting swept by Clemson and then that beat down last night, I'm sorry, if you had Clayton Kershaw starting every one of those games, you still wouldn't win because you can't score. This is the worst hitting team, and I thought, I'm honest now, didn't they say this was his best recruiting class? This was going to change the philosophy of the way they will approach the plate and all that other good stuff?
Well, I mean, yeah, I understand where you're going. Although Chad Callett, the first year here, I don't know how. I have zero clue in terms. Maybe this is a question for Brian Jeffcoat. If you come in and you change the philosophy of hitting, how different was it from what they were doing previously? I understand your point, Richard. I just that's a technical baseball question when you talk about college and professional. To change an approach, to me, it would sound easy. Hey, swing at the good pitches, don't swing at the bad pitches, try and put the ball in play. I don't know. I understand what you're asking. This is still a very young team. I don't want to make excuses for them, but it is a very young team, as you just pointed out.
Well, yeah, young team, but we got transfers in that
True.
have experience on winning teams, and now they look completely lost at the plate. They're swinging it, I was always, they're guess hitters, obviously, and they're still swinging for the fences. And I was taught when I played baseball about 1,000 years ago that if it was white and if it was moving, swing at it,
Okay.
And now we guess, and we guess wrong 99% of the time. We've got what I think are 2 good players on the team, and the rest of them are just, I don't know what they're doing.
Which 2?
The new kid that plays shortstop and pitches. My mind has just gone
Michael
blank.
Braswell.
And then Eister.
Well,
Eister's
I guess you mean, and Will Sanders. You got to give Will Sanders. You got to throw Will Sanders in there as a pitch, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
But I was just thinking about Texas this weekend. The best thing that can happen to South Carolina is it rains all 3 days and we don't get to play, because that's going to be an embarrassing mess. even with Sanders on the mound, he can't beat Texas if we can't score a number of runs. And obviously, we've proven we can't do that.
80, yeah.
That's not 2 cents worth. And appreciate you guys. Maybe y'all can talk a little bit of baseball someday, because you get hung up on this ACC stuff and you can't get off of it. And the coaches' careers, you can't get off of that. It's really boring, honestly. Just being honest with you.
Yeah, Richard, we don't care.
Talk to you.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you for the call. There's other stations you can go and listen to if it's boring. We're not for everybody. And you didn't want to talk baseball, yet you called in to talk baseball, and you didn't know you didn't know the shortstop's name, Richard. So appreciate you listening.
Well, you made him nervous. That's what it was.
We made him nervous.
Mhm.
Okay.
Not much to talk about. If
Richard's also. I'm not gonna get it. All right, buddy. We appreciate that. Was a wild phone call that took a left turn on us.
That's okay. We're not for everybody, and that's all right.
803-404.
You get what you pay for.
61. I think he just went down a path of he got tired of ripping the baseball team.
So
So
he's
he's like, I'll rip the radio program as well. Why not? Throw them under the bus.
Yeah.
I've already disparaged the baseball program enough. Let me just go ahead and knock out the radio show as well. 803-404-6100. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Do you know him?
That guy?
Yeah, you said, I don't know. I thought you were about to say you knew him.
No, I didn't know him. It was such a Harry. This show is horrible. I can't wait till tomorrow so I can tune in again.
Well, the team's terrible. There's only 2 good players, but you guys should talk about it more because this is boring.
What's the most confusing call we've had?
And we do have a couple accidents to let you know about.
baseball,
Hardscrabble Road at Rice Meadow Way. There is a tie up there. Also,
He
Broad
said something
River
about,
Road
wasn't he
at
supposed to be
Grace
the best
Point
recruiter in
Church
class?
Road. Your forecast, looking for
was the
some
first
rain later
question, so
today,
you-
maybe a
you
couple
responded
storms
to.
thrown in there. 74 for the high, overnight low of 51. We'll have some rain tomorrow morning, and we're looking for a high of 56. But right now, we do have that patchy dense fog, she says, and it's the 64. 107.5 The Game.
Well, and I was about to say, well, Richard, we're talking about old basketball coaches. You sound old.
You remember them?
It's like, well, that was entertaining. Yeah, I'll just do it coming back in.
That is how it should be, though. If you want to talk about something and we're not talking about it, just call in. You can change your subject whenever you want. You can lie about what you want to call about and then just start talking about what you want to talk about.
Yeah, that was $803-404-6100, how you can be a part of, and as Patrick just said, you can be a part of the program. If you don't like what we're talking about, you can call in and change the subject, I reckon.
Yep.
Whatever you want.
Whatever you want to.
NASCAR it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, that's somebody weighed in. I think it was Dan says, "How about NASCAR? First short track with the new cars at Phoenix this weekend." So maybe that'll make Richard a little happier. I appreciate him staying on hold though to voice his concerns. And then Eddie telling me that to answer the question, the answer to his question, they are a young team. I'm not dancing around it. But they're not playing well at all anywhere outside of Will Sanders. Like, right? They did score last night for the record. They did score 7 runs. You would assume 7 runs
It should be enough.
would get you enough.
Yeah.
I mean, 8 hits last night, but when you give up 15 hits, you commit an error. It's a whole nother
They
thing.
have 2 good players in the lineup.
Didn't know either one of them. Maybe
didn't?
that's why he wants us to talk more baseball. 803-404-6100. We'll take all those calls that you'd like. Let's get out Jen to Casey real quick. Casey, let's get you in here before the end of the hour. What's on your mind this morning?
Well, first off, I just want to say ever since Dan Patrick left, y'all could talk about the color of y'all shoes and socks, and I'm still going to listen. I love y'all guys.
Thank you.
Aw, our favorite.
Yeah.
But as far as our baseball team, I have a question. I know it's not looking good. If they cannot turn it around, do we still have the same coach next year? And that's the only question I got. Thanks.
I don't know. I don't know. We'll talk.
If I had to wager on it, it was plus money to the no. I would say no.
I think there's a lot. You got to. This sounds like I'm dancing around the answer, and I'm not. But I think you got a new school president. I think everybody below him is watching out for their job. Does that make sense? Like when you get a new school president and you look, the basketball program is at least posting 500 seasons. I know everybody wants to go to the NCAA tournament. That makes perfect sense. Baseball program is certainly right now. They did at least make the postseason last year. There's a lot there. It's a great question that he asks, Casey, and we'll have to continue to allow the season to play out and make those predictions as we get into the month of May. We'll do another hour. Brian Edwards is up next. We'll get his picks. Maybe that'll entertain Richard a little bit.
I doubt it.
There's no way.
I don't think he knows how to place a bet.
I either. It's the early game. I want to 75 the game.
I'm waiting for the phone call. No, I figure I'll probably get a phone call. Oh, you're picking on me, man. They can all stick it. Did you want me to repeat myself? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought you were talking to me.
Okay.
If you want to go ahead and cut this promo real quick,
Yeah,
so you've
we
got
can.
the 8 o'clock hour to do it. Let's go ahead and we'll.
Okay. Yep.
I'll just read the zero res before we start the Brian Edwards segment. I figured I'd just read it like kind of like a promo as opposed to trying to jam it in right there. I figured I'd get to that caller. There we go. Yeah, we're not very good at the radio stuff, and Richard wasn't very happy with the baseball team. Jen, that wasn't the other Richard that no. It's just a
No, just another one
just
that's frustrated. No, he
like
would
a
not
whole
have gotten on the air, I
generation of
promise.
angry Richards. Yeah, pretty much.
This top 10 kind of stinks.
What league is that? What was that?
I think it was a North and South American tournament, club tournament.
Craig, I'll give him credit though. He like set us up so well. He was kind of ranting about the baseball program and just went down a path. I'm reading some of these text messages. Drew said Richard wasted 40 minutes on hold to say he's not a fan while his mom is yelling for him to come out of the basement for breakfast. He was pretty old. Bun says, feel like a generational rule of thumb on all local sports radio shows is focusing on more on success and fading the failures of teams as topics a bit because no crap. Of course, our baseball team isn't getting the attention it used to. We suck right now.
Depends on the market.
It's true. That was something. All right. I was in the middle of. All right. That's true. Spring football a week from today. Should could bring that up. I was still looking for that tweet that you said.
What tweet?
8:02 on a Wednesday morning, March the 9th. Coming up in just a few minutes, Brian Edwards of Vegas Insider will join us. A lot of you weighing in on the Buford Lending live stream as it pertains to the previous hour. A lot of ACC basketball talk because that's what you guys want to hear. And we talked a little bit about the baseball team, 15-7 yesterday. Xavier knocks off South Carolina. We've talked about that. Aaron Rodgers signing a 4-year, $200 million deal with the Green Bay Packers. Russell Wilson traded to the Denver Broncos. We've gotten into all of that this morning. If you want to be a part of the program and weigh in on any of that, the number to do so is 803-404-6100. Sonny also brings up a week from today, the spring practice for South Carolina will get underway, and we'll cover that more next week and start to get into some positional breakdowns and catch up with a few different people, get Brad Crawford back, J.C. Sherbert back in as we start to count down the days until the spring game. April the 16th is when that is coming up. So we got a lot there to get into this hour. Again, we'll catch up with Brian Edwards of Vegas Insider here in just a minute to get his take on the NCAA college conference tournaments taking place across the country. ACC already underway. SEC getting underway this evening, 6 o'clock. Down in Tampa is where that'll take place. The late game tonight, Georgia and Vanderbilt. Neither of the games really tonight in the SEC, Patrick, are that scintillating. It's not, I think, must-watch television. I'm not even sure it's television where you need to necessarily have it on in the background, but the SEC tournament does get going. South Carolina and Mississippi State tomorrow at 6 o'clock is when that one will get going. Again, this afternoon, Ole Miss and Missouri at 6 o'clock, and then at 8 o'clock, it's Georgia and Vanderbilt. Again, that is from Amalie Arena down in Tampa, Florida, where they're having this year's SEC tournament. It should be entertaining, and tomorrow night, a chance for the Gamecocks to get their 19th win of the season. You might want to enjoy the big conference tournaments by having some people over. If you need to do that, you want to make sure your house is nice and clean, ready to have people over to watch all the big games that are coming up in the next month. To do that, it's time to get in touch with Zero Res. You can have 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for just $109. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 1075 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. You can set up that appointment today, 803-262-4020, or schedule online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Again, right now, 3 rooms of carpet clean for just $109. But when you mention me, Bill Gunner, and 1075 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. That phone number, 803-262-4020. You can schedule online, ZeroResColumbia.com. It is the patented ZR water technology that makes Zero Res stand out. Scientifically proven to get your rugs, tile, upholstery insanely clean and keep them cleaner longer. So if you've got the big parties coming up, St. Patrick's Day isn't far away. Maybe you got a St. Patrick's Day party. You want to have the people over, you want to hang out, enjoy the weather, but you want to have a clean house, call Zero Res. Right now, 3 rooms of carpet clean for $109. And when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 1075 The Game, you'll get a hallway cleaned for free. That phone number, 803-262-4020, or schedule online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Let's get out to Jen. You ready? We get out to the phone lines. Our good buddy, Brian Edwards of Vegas Insider and MajorWager.com is joining us this morning, as he always does on a Wednesday, to talk about what is going on in the sports world, also to talk about the lines for the weekend. And Brian, it is basketball tournament time, and one of your favorite times of the year. This has got to be right up there, right?
It is, more, Thursday and Friday of next week are probably the 2 favorite days of the year, but this entire week is pretty good. Games from noon Eastern till well past midnight every night. It's great.
What as you kind of look at games, because it's a quick turnaround, what do you factor in as you're trying to play games when you have the quick turnaround, maybe a bye for a team, maybe injuries, maybe overtimes, and then a team having to play the next night? What are some of the biggest factors you have to quickly look for when you try to make picks over the next 4 or 5 days?
Yeah, fatigue is a factor. You got to look and, the teams that, for example, who got a lot of minutes last night, like Louisville should have put Georgia Tech away, last night. They're up 27 with 16 minutes left in the second half. And Georgia Tech goes on a 17-0 run, and Louisville has to play their starters all night. So instead of Louisville getting their starters, on the bench where they played only maybe 25 minutes or so, I think most of their – I haven't looked at that box score yet, but most of their starters probably had to go 35 minutes last night. So that doesn't bode well for them with their quick turnaround today. But head-to-head, what has happened between, a lot of these teams will be playing each other for a third time this year. So there's all kind of things to look for. But I've got some future plays I like, and then I've got a few games I like today. So let's get to them, Gunner.
Let's talk. Yeah, let's get to a couple of these here that you like. Let's start let's do this. Let's start with today's games, and then we'll go to your futures here that you've got sent in. Arizona State, Stanford today, Pac-12 tournament. Arizona State -3.5. Bobby Hurley out there. I expect his name to pop up. I feel like Bobby Hurley is mining for a raise, an extension, or trying to get out of Arizona State. So I think that's a team that I kind of keep an eye on. -3.5 today, Pac-12 tournament against Stanford.
Yeah, Gunner, obviously, we're a long ways away from Tempe. I'm not really sure what his hot seat status is, but if they are going to make a move on him and fire him, it's not going to be because his team is not playing hard and playing well. It's been a nightmare season for them, but they got it going a month ago. They have won 4 in a row, both straight up and against the spread. In their last 8 games, they are 7-1, both straight up and against the spread, with 4 wins by 17 points or more. The lone loss and non-cover was at UCLA. They lost by 14, but that was a game they were only down by 6 with about 3 minutes left. And so they didn't cover by 1, but that line was actually 14.5 the morning of that game. I actually got it at 14. It was a push for me. And look, they played Stanford. That's who they play today, 3 p.m. Eastern on the Pac-12 network. They played them this past Saturday. They won by 9. They played in Palo Alto January 22nd. They lost by 3, but covered as a 5.5-point dog. I like Arizona State minus the 3.5 today. And I also like them at 100-1 odds to win the tournament. If they win today, they would have to play Arizona. Arizona's a team they lost to twice, but 2 very competitive games. They led by 13 against Arizona in the first half of one of those games. They were tied at halftime with them another one of the games. So they've been competitive, and at 100-1, if they just win 2 games, we can start hedging to make a profit once they get to the semifinals. If they do, and I'm not talking about risking much, it's the 100-1 payout. But today I like them to get aggressive to that play at -3.5.
One of the other futures you like, Brian, because it is bold to bet someone coming from the losers bracket, but you like Miami too. They at least get the double bye in the ACC tournament, so that seems at least like you have a better return. But what are they, 13-1? Is that what you said?
Yeah, they are 13-1 now. They've just been very good away from home. They're 10-2 both straight up and against the spread on the road. They've won 5 straight on the road, and even going back 6 games, the loss was only by 1 at FSU. And like you said, they've got a double bye. It will get the winner of it'll be Wake Forest today versus Boston College, and they get the winner of that tomorrow. If they win, they would probably, most likely get Duke if form holds. But they've already won at Duke this year. And again, it's 13-1. I'm not talking about risking a lot. Again, if they win tomorrow, which I think they will, they would get Duke, and it's a team they won against at Cameron. So 13-1, I think it's worth a shot.
Where are you at with Duke right now? Was that UNC loss just a random? The moment was too big for the young team, or are they in legit trouble? Do you think they can win the national championship, or you don't like them very much?
Well, I could see Coach K getting generous officiating in this tournament. That would concern me betting against them. I mean, not that doesn't happen anyway all the time, but I could see it even more likely to happen in this tournament. And maybe that loss makes them a little more dangerous. I think that it's such nonsense that their coaching staff is acting all bitter that UNC, the arch rival, didn't honor Coach K. What kind of nonsense is that? And Chris Carrawell, I'm glad his playing career ended at the hands of my Gators in that 2000 pump slap at the Carrier Dome. Remember it well, and glad that's how he went out. And he's being a chump this week, in my opinion.
Brian Edwards.
It is ridiculous to expect them to honor the coach who they absolutely despise.
Exactly. I wouldn't expect FSU to honor Steve Spurrier.
That's true. It's actually a good point.
That's exactly right.
That's a good point. Yeah, he's Brian Edwards joining us from Vegas Insider. You can follow him on majorwager.com as well. Let's go back tonight, Georgia and Vanderbilt. That should be a barn burner and keep everybody's interest very much involved all the way through the end, especially if you decide to play a side on it. You got the over of 144.5. Your thoughts on Vanderbilt and Georgia?
Yeah, I really like this one. This Georgia team has been awful, but they've been so good to me. I've made a lot of money going against them. I've made a lot of money on their overs here lately. And the over's on a 9-2 run for Vanderbilt as well. The over is 6-1 for Georgia in its last 7, 15-7 in its last 22. 19 of Georgia's last 22 have had 143 or more. Now we need to get to 145 tonight, as that total is 144.5. But 17 of Georgia's last 22 games have had 146 or more. When these teams played last, Vandy won 85-77 for 162 combined. Georgia's ranked number 346 out of 358 Division I teams in scoring defense. They give up 78.3. As expected, no shocker. The AJC reports yesterday, Tom Crean on his way out when they're eliminated from this tournament. And with that being the case, I don't see Georgia digging deep to get stops tonight. And I like over 144.5. I'm not against, to a smaller extent, I like Vandy. 9 is a little high, but I still think they probably cover that. It's a small opinion on Vandy. And if for anybody's doing a money line parlay with some favorites tonight, I think Vandy would be gold in that. But, I wouldn't do the money line on a straight bet. But if you want to wrap it up in a parlay, maybe Georgia on the money line, St. John's on the money line. I think those two would hit. I didn't see money line prices last night, so I didn't get out the parlay calculator. If you do St. John's on the money line with Georgia, but I would think it would be about even money, and maybe you can find a third team out there, maybe another team that's favored that you expect to advance. Don't we have Oregon and Oregon State? Maybe Oregon on the money line against them would be maybe a third team to do that with.
Two other futures that you mentioned that people probably aren't super familiar with was Memphis and Boise State. You like both of their odds in the conference tournament? Just generally, what's the rundown on those teams?
Yeah, so I saw Memphis plus 400 early in the week, but then yesterday I saw some books were more like plus 300 and maybe a little change, or just plus 300. So y'all remember when Penny went on that tirade after a loss to SMU, expletive-laced tirade? And he's mainly getting on the press for giving him such a hard time when he was missing a lot of his good players. And, it was a bad look, but he was being honest. He was missing a lot of players. Those guys have gotten healthy. Ever since that tirade, Memphis is 10-1 straight up, 8-3 against the spread in 11 games. And most importantly, they've beaten Houston, the top seed in this tournament, twice by double-digit margins. Handle them. And that's the top seed in this tournament. And they wouldn't have to play them until the finals anyway. So I like Memphis. I would say as long as you can get 3-1. And then Boise State, ought to be able to get them around either anywhere from plus 280 to plus 310. And they've beaten every team in the Mountain West except for Colorado State, who they lost to at home in overtime by 3, and they lost in Fort Collins by 3 this past weekend. But they wouldn't have to get them until the finals. Boise's the top seed. Colorado State is the 2 seed. They would have to get the Nevada, if the Broncos advance, they'll get the Wyoming UNLV winner, and this is at Thomas and Mack in Vegas, and they've already won at UNLV. They ended up splitting with Wyoming. I'm heading to Vegas tonight. I might try to go catch Boise State at some point this weekend.
Is that at the Golden Knights Arena or the Raiders Stadium?
No, it's definitely not at the Raiders Stadium. It'd be too big.
I would think it'd
Do you
be
know?
too big.
Do you know where that's at? Do you know what venue that's at, Brian?
Oh, I'm sorry, y'all kind of going in and out on me. What did you ask?
The venue for
it's
the
at
where you
Thomas
were talking
and
about.
Mack. Yeah. Thomas and Mack is where
Thomas and
UNLV
Mack, okay.
plays, and that's where Mountain West will be. The Pac-12 is at T-Mobile,
Yeah.
where they have all. Patrick knows where they have all the big UFC fights,
Ah,
including
yes.
Bryce Mitchell's win last week.
Yeah, real quick, let's go back to that. Your thoughts on the UFC fight that you got to watch last week and the outcome of that.
Sounds like it went according to plan.
Yeah, I had Bryce, and we talked about that fight last week, didn't we?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
what I was asking you. Following
Yeah,
up, just
yeah,
following
yeah.
up quickly on that.
Yeah. I had Bryce, and then the parlay I had with Spivak beating Greg Hardy, with Covington winning, and who else did I have in that parlay? Oh, Kevin Holland. So yeah, the main card worked out good for me. It was good. It was a good Saturday night, and I think Bryce Mitchell probably will get a shot at maybe a top 5 guy. I would say he's probably 2 wins away from a title shot.
He's Brian Edwards joining us from VegasInsider.com as he does each and every Wednesday to break down the card. We'll get his NCAA thoughts next weekend and maybe some long shots there. One more. You mentioned Boise State. Another one you had who you've already mentioned this morning was Arizona State. You like them maybe as a long shot, 100-1 in the Pac-12 tournament. Real quick, just kind of recap why you like that one.
You're kind of going out on me there. Got Arizona State. Is that what you said?
Long shot. Yep. 100-1 to win the Pac-12.
Yeah, 100-1 shot. I'm talking about risking like whatever, $10, 20 tops. And just they've been hot, man. 7 out of 8. They have won both straight up and against the spread. They beat Oregon by 20. They've had 2 competitive games with Arizona. They were tied at half and one. They were down by 4 at half in the other, but that was the one they led by 13 at one point in the first half. And those meetings were back before Arizona State really got hot, like they've gotten, particularly the last 3 weeks. Again, they've won 7 of 8, and 4 of those wins have been by 17 or more. They're playing outstanding, and being that hot, that's the kind of team you look for to baby cash a future ticket with 100-1. And even if they just get to the semifinals, we can start hedging by playing against them on the money line and still profit with a payout like 100-1.
Brian, real quick, we just had someone ask about this. Do you have any thoughts on Calvin Ridley since you're a gambling Vegas guy?
Oh my gosh, and I'm a Falcons fan. Yes, I do. I'm so bitter at him. I mean, even before the news broke the other day, he was trending on Twitter because the Patriots and Browns were ready to offer Atlanta multiple draft picks. But in terms of the punishment, I think it's a little harsh. And, I hate uninformed opinions by the national media. This guy didn't have any inside information other than that the Jacksonville Jaguars were horrible. And that's why he had the Falcons in a parlay that week. He was away from the team. He had not been around the team whatsoever for many weeks. He was inactive, and he was just stupid. He signed up with an app with his own name. I don't think that there's a credibility issue with the NFL here whatsoever. If there's a credibility issue with the NFL, it's the referees making that horrible call in the Saints-Rams game to send the wrong team to the Super Bowl. I don't think it's players gambling. I mean, this guy cost himself $12 million in salary, and who knows? The suspension is only for a minimum of 1 year. It could be longer. He's not going to have much trade value for the Falcons. So I'm very mad at the guy because
So
I'm a
trade-
Falcons fan.
Trade Matt Ryan and tank.
No, I don't want to trade Matt Ryan. Every Falcon fan does, but I don't. I think he's still playing great football. That's my opinion.
Brian, we appreciate your time as always for joining us, giving us the lowdown. We will catch back up with you next week. Have a fun trip to Vegas. That seems like a good place to be this coming weekend. 2 conference tournaments going on, and you can never have a bad time in Vegas, right?
That's right. Thanks, gentlemen. Y'all have a great weekend. Appreciate you having me.
Take care. Brian Edwards, VegasInsider.com, where he is senior handicapper, and you can follow him on MajorWager.com as well. We'll catch up with Kyle Thompson coming up in about 15 minutes to talk some PGA. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. That time of year when the heating and air unit at your house is going to get a workout because chillier weather in the morning, hotter weather in the afternoon. And we all know that hotter weather is really, really on the way when you talk about July, August, September. Don't wait any longer. Call AAA Heating and Air today, 803-677-1500. That's how you can get in touch with Roy and Dana Finley, who do a fantastic job taking care of my family. They'll do the same for you. They'll offer you a $59 inspection. Come out, make sure that heating and air unit is working great. Make sure that it is top of the line and ready to take care of you and your family. And if something's wrong, you know what? They'll take care of you as well. They'll offer you a $1,500 rebate to buy back your old unit. Then they'll work with you. No money down, 0% financing for those who qualify. And finally, a 15-year parts and labor warranty to help get you through the next 15 years. AAA Heating and Air takes care of their customers like they take care of their family. Find out for yourself today by giving them a call, 803-677-1500. That's how you can reach out to AAA Heating and Air. I'm telling you, they come out, they make sure that my heating and air unit is working properly. They make sure that I'm satisfied. They'll do the exact same for you. 803-677-1500. That's AAA Heating and Air. Give them a call today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
All right, we're back on now. Some of the behind the scenes stuff just can't go on the air. The live stream is the air now. I think we should just make the live stream full on rated R. Anything goes.
Yeah, there was some of it was just work stuff that we had to do real quick. Some of it was I forgot we were laughing about a guy who tweeted in upset. So we were laughing about that. And then I mentioned that I do hate that I totally forgot because we got Kyle Thompson here now, and I hate that I forgot to mention the LSU stuff today with Patrick. Maybe Richard would have liked the LSU stuff better than our ACC rundown.
Probably. Anything is better. SEC is always better than ACC. Doesn't matter what the story is.
It was mildly amusing again because he's clearly an older guy. I think he was an older guy, and I thought he would have, at least because we were talking about older coaches, that he might have remembered. Like, of course, he couldn't remember the shortstop's name, who said we only had two. Then he forgot Will Sanders. And did you have to help him with Eister?
I think he got Eister.
Did he get Eister? I couldn't remember. So, well. It's just funny because it was such an immediate, right turn. Like, he's complaining about the baseball team. Like, he just want to hear something.
Yeah, I mean, I can always switch it back to program 1.
Sponsored by Love Chevrolet.
8:32 on a Wednesday morning, March the 9th. A lot of things we have covered today, from South Carolina's 15-7 baseball loss to Xavier yesterday, to the trade for Russell Wilson, as I'm watching him throw long touchdown passes on the TV screen in front of us. Russell Wilson to the Broncos. Aaron Rodgers signing the big contract. We've talked about the SEC and the ACC basketball tournaments. And in just a second, we will get out to our good buddy Kyle Thompson and talk about the Players' Championship this weekend. First, want to let you know you can listen this week to win a pair of tickets to see Bob Dylan, the Rough and Rowdy Ways World Tour at the Township Auditorium. Love the way we write these. It says Tuesday, March 2, and then on the next line it says 9. So I thought I was about to read March 2nd, only to then see that it's actually the 29th. So listen this week.
Keeping you on your toes, buddy.
Thank you. Making sure my reading skill is good. Listen this week to win a pair of tickets to see Bob Dylan, the Rough and Rowdy Ways World Tour at the Township Auditorium in Columbia, Tuesday, March 29th. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com.
Name me one Bob Dylan song.
Oh, I have none.
Zero Bob Dylan song.
What? No, actually. And Jen said one the other day that I was going to say, but I feel like that's a Tom Petty song now, so I'm not sure.
We'll throw it out there.
No, let's just move on.
Come on,
Yeah.
throw out one Bob Dylan
No, I
song.
don't remember.
Because there's one that has a line about everybody going and getting stoned.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah, I'm
Like a
not
Rolling
the connoisseur.
Is it like a Rolling Stone? Are you telling me that?
That is one of
Yeah.
his songs.
Yeah.
One of the greatest songs ever.
Okay. Nope.
Times
got-
they are changing.
I got nothing.
Hurricane.
Times are changing. That seems like one I probably know. Hurricane could be one. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's go out to a man who knows a lot about Bob Dylan, probably, or maybe has nothing. He joins me in this. Kyle, are you if you'd have been asked that question by Patrick, would have you been able to name one Bob Dylan song?
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows "Tangled Up in Blue." I thought, but obviously you guys don't.
All
but,
Along the Watchtower has been suggested.
Along.
Isn't that Jimi Hendrix?
Second after Bob Dylan.
Oh, I did not know that.
You see where we can go with this, Kyle? We bring you in to talk golf, but next thing I know, we're on Bob Dylan music. So welcome
I
in.
know, go off on a tangent.
Hope you're doing good. He is Kyle Thompson joining us, former PGA Tour pro and former South Carolina standout. Speaking of South Carolina, I tagged you in a tweet last night. Not sure if you saw that, but a good weekend or good week for the South Carolina golf team. They win the Palmetto Invitational this week. Did you get a chance? I know you didn't see it on television or anything, but I don't know if you saw that come across. I know you've been busy this week, but I don't know if you saw that come across Twitter there as the Gamecocks go and pick up, it appears, their second win of the season at the Palmetto Intercollegiate Tournament.
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm proud of the boys. That's a good win. Anytime you win a tournament, it's awesome. The college golf has changed a lot since I was in school. When I was in school, every event had like the strongest field possible. I want to say about 10 to 15 years ago, they changed it where now if you don't beat 50% of your opponents throughout the season, you don't qualify for postseason. So, unfortunately, what that's caused is you have some teams taking a lot of, I want to say, flyer events. And not to say that this is sort of is a flyer event. I mean, the Gamecocks should have won this, and they did. They won by 10. But if you look at the field, they had Virginia, VCU, the only other two teams and Virginia Tech. But then you've got Wofford, Furman, PC, Charleston Southern, Gardner-Webb. It was sort of a weak field. And it's sort of like, I guess, baseball, every sport that sort of tries to pad their stats a little bit, especially early in the season. So it was a great win, though. Ryan Hall won. I don't know how many wins he has now, but he's on his way to being one of the best Gamecock players of all time. So you can't take anything away from him. But it's funny how things have changed with college golf, for sure.
Yeah, great weekend. Yeah, you mentioned Ryan Hall, who goes on and wins it. And I'm just reading, he is now tied for second in program history with Keenan Husky, Carl Paulson, Matt Neesmith for most career victories. So pretty cool for the Gamecocks this week. As I guess
who would be that number one guy?
Is that you? I was gonna. I didn't have. I was kind of reading. Is that you?
Yeah.
Well, I figured as much. That's why we get the expert on to do that. Congratulations. Yeah.
I'm just sitting here. I'm just kidding around, tooting my own horn. But yeah, that was forever ago.
Yeah, they really should have put that in the article. They all trail Kyle Thompson and brag about that. So let's talk about the PGA Tour for a second. We'll get to the Players Championship, but yesterday, Jay Monahan coming out and saying he needs to speak with Phil Mickelson before Mickelson can play again. To me, that's something that you kind of hinted at basically last week, that there may be a suspension that Mickelson is currently serving right now that is not being mentioned publicly.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if both Phil and possibly even Bryson DeChambeau are both serving a suspension right now. But you'll never know because the PGA Tour is sort of a closed book when it comes to suspensions, to timings on tour, to a lot of their business is really kind of cloaked in secrecy. And I think that's one of the frustrations. I think Rory McIlroy even said something about it in his presser yesterday, saying that, they would just wish the tour would be a little bit more transparent. And I think it would go a long ways. We talk a lot on tour about faster play and slow play and all that. Well, they should publish the 10 slowest guys, put it in the locker room so it shames them a bit, make them play faster. The tour and really I feel like our whole society in general has become so soft that they can't take a little criticism, and that's a shame. That's kind of the way it's become. So, my opinion.
DeChambeau skipping the Players again this weekend, still not ready, and I guess it's kind of the same story there. I feel like that he is on some kind of suspension. Although, Kyle, I mean, again, he says it's a left wrist and a left hip. I'm going to assume the left wrist in golf. It's never bothered me much because when you're not very good, you're just not very good. There's no injury that really sets you back. But the bottom line there is it just seems both he and Mickelson, something seems suspicious as you've hinted at.
Well, Bryson did play in a one-day event a little over a week ago down at Seminole in the pro member. So to me, it would be hard for me to fathom not playing in a $20 million purse event where first place could make $3.4 million because I'm a little sore. Or I'm not, 100%. He said he's at 90%, and just something doesn't smell right. And I could be completely wrong. I'm not saying that I'm right at all, but in my mind, I mean, if I could walk on one leg, I'm going to go tee it up in that event.
This weekend is the Players Championship. How do you feel when you hear people suggest this should be the fifth major, that should be the fifth major? I saw some people a couple of weeks ago from the Waste Management saying that because of the way that tournament is kind of covered, the way it's played, the excitement around it, maybe that should be in contention for an early major. But certainly we've long heard that the Players Championship would be maybe the fifth major. What do you remember about this tournament? How would you feel about this one maybe joining the major rotation?
I personally think that it would be a great fifth major. It's got the strongest field of the year. I believe this week there's 46 of the top 50 players in the world. I mean, you could just throw a dart against the dartboard and pick the winner. There's so many good players that it could be anybody that could win this event. And so, and it's just, I think it's got the best, three closing holes in all of golf too. You got 16, which is a great par 5, a little bit of a dogleg left that you can reach into, and you can make eagle there, but you could also make a big number because it's got water to the right. And then obviously 17 is an island par 3 green. It could be one of the most famous holes in all of golf. It's really exciting hole. I mean, for the pro player, if we're playing on a Monday or Tuesday with nothing on the line, we never miss that green. Like it's there. It's only a 9-iron, maybe a pitching wedge. But when you put all the pressure and all the people watching and a little bit of wind gusting here and there, it becomes a really, really tough shot. And so, you got that hole, and then you got 18, which is a really solid par 4, dogleg left. It's about 440-ish yards, and there's water all the way down the left side. And if you bail out to the right, you can't hit the green in 2. So it really takes some guts to stand up there and just stripe it on those last 3 holes. So, we've seen some great finishes. You look back at when Craig Perks won probably 15, 20 years ago. He chipped in 2 out of the last 3 holes. I believe that might have been the year Carl Paulson was actually in the mix, if I'm not mistaken. But, there's been some incredible finishes there. I think Ricky Fowler had a really great finish a couple of years ago when he won. But, it's one of the most exciting events to watch throughout the whole year.
What is it? Can you describe, walking, I guess, around to the tee box on 17 and just the atmosphere, the crowd there? Because it's not like 16 in Arizona where it's just raucous and the crowd is loud, but this one's a little bit more noise, right? Like it's still, as you just mentioned, it gives the nerves a little bit of a workout.
Well, the trick in pro golf is trying to really just trick your mind and not get ahead of yourself. And so, anytime I was in a situation like that where I knew what I had coming up, I would always try not to let my mind go there. So, like, for instance, if I just finished on 16, then I'm going to try my best not to look over at 17 and see what's going on over there. When I get over there, I'll do my problem solving when I get there. You really want to stay in the moment and play every shot as it comes, one shot at a time. It's kind of an old cliche, but there's no better cliche than that in golf. And so it's really easy to get ahead of yourself if you're not careful. And it's really important just to stay in the moment.
Colin Morikawa is the favorite going into tomorrow. Justin Thomas and John Rahm right behind him, and then Victor Hovland and Roy McIlroy rounding out basically the top 5 favorites. You want to take a stab here? Last week you offered a couple predictions. Liked your line of thinking, but you want to take a stab? As you mentioned, this is a tournament kind of, you can just throw a dart at the board and land on a guy because of the field. But who do you kind of feel might be fine-tuning their game as we head into Sawgrass here?
Well, I tell you, it's hard to go against Victor Hovland right now. I think he's made $5 million in his last 8 starts. I mean, that's insane. And Victor's his caddy's been a long-time friend of mine, Australian guy who actually lives just up the road in Charlotte. But I'd love to see Victor play well. I think it's hard to ignore Scotty Scheffler, who won last week. He's won 2 of the last, I want to say, 4 events or so. But I think this event really comes down to who's the best ball striker, iron player, and then whoever has a hot putter. So if Xander Schauffele gets his putter going, I think he's going to be tough to beat. And Patrick Cantlay, those 2 would be my top 2 picks right now. And then with Victor Hovland, a close third. One guy that's never played well here, who's due to break out, is our very own, Dustin Johnson. I think he's only had 1 top 10 finish in his career, maybe something like that. He hasn't played well, but you just never know with Dustin. He's so talented.
You hear that term a lot if you're watching a golf tournament, ball striker. What define that the best you can in layman's terms? When somebody says he's a good ball striker, because I would assume everybody on the tour knows how to hit or strike the golf ball properly.
Yeah, it's really more of how good they hit, how good are their misses. A guy who hits a shot that very rarely misses, who has the tightest dispersion of their shots. When you look at a lot of times you look at pro golfers and you think they're, the way I'd like to say is like they're not really riflemen, they're really shooting a shotgun. And the amateurs have a big, huge spread on their shotgun, whereas pros have the tightest spread dispersion possible. And the best ball strikers are the ones that can land a shot like on a dime 9 out of 10 times. And, I had moments throughout my career when I was that guy, when things were really clicking, but unfortunately they're few and far between. And there's these guys that are top 5 and 10 in the world. It's every single time they tee it up. It's really impressive. You know, when you hit balls beside a guy like John Rahm, I mean, it just makes a different sound off the face. It's really impressive. So, but that's kind of how I would describe it. Somebody that can really thump the ball, makes a different sound, and their misses are usually in a place where they can, you know, make the best of it, get up and down for par or whatever.
He's Kyle Thompson. He joins us each and every week for our golf segment. This week, obviously, the Players' Championship. Real quick before I let you go, South Carolina heads down to Tampa for the SEC basketball tournament. It gets going tomorrow night, 6 o'clock for them. SEC tournament starts tonight. Have you ever been a big basketball guy as it pertains to March Madness, the conference tournaments, and the NCAA?
You know, I was for the longest time, and then something kind of happens when you have a family and 3 kids. You kind of lose track of it. But forever, I've been a big fan, especially when they're playing well. I mean, there's nothing better than that run we made to the Final Four a few years ago, and I was actually at the game when we beat Duke up in Greenville, and it was fantastic. So, yeah, I'm excited for them. I think they've got the talent. It's just a matter of can they put it all together, you know, for a solid tournament.
We appreciate your insight. Look forward to catching up with you next week, and enjoy the weekend. Watch a little basketball, maybe enjoy the weather, and hopefully maybe even get out and hit some golf balls out around the yard so that when you come down, you beat me pretty badly as you already would.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a great day.
Glad to have you. Kyle Thompson joining us, former Gamecock, the all-time winningest Gamecock, as we just learned.
That is impressive.
I had a feeling it might be him, but I wasn't 100% sure. It would have been nice in that little article if it said all-time leader and then given us everybody that was in second place. That would have saved a little bit of embarrassment there. But Kyle is a great guy. Appreciate him now being a part of the program each and every Wednesday. You can follow him on Twitter if you're not already, at Kyle Thompson PGA is the way to do that. We'll come back and wrap up the Wednesday morning episode of The Early Game here on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up on the next Extra Point.
Hey guys, Pearson Fowler from the Extra Point here. Coming up on the Wednesday Extra Point, we will start to preview South Carolina's first game in the SEC tournament against Mississippi State. The all-SEC teams are out and the all-defensive teams, including one notable omission from South Carolina. We'll talk about that and continue to react to some of the big news out of the NFL the last couple days. It's the Extra Point, 9 o'clock.
The Extra Point with Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central. 9 a.m. to noon on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
Talking golf this morning with Kyle Thompson. Maybe you feel like getting out and hitting the golf ball a little bit, but you've been slowed recently. Some joint pain, maybe some problems with some muscles or ligaments in your knees or in your shoulders, and you're not able to swing the golf club like you have been or like you want to. It's time to call QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative solutions that can restore and repair damaged tissue. And most importantly, they do it with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. I'm telling you what, this is the relief you've been hoping for your aching hips, knees, shoulders, lower back, whatever it may be. Call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation and see how they're ready to help you. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. You can make this spring and summer your absolute best ever with no joint pain holding you back. You just need to give the medical professionals at QC Kinetics a phone call today to set up that free consultation. 803-281-6860 is how you can get in touch with him. It's the new, better, smarter, non-surgical, non-invasive way to deal with joint pain. Call QC Kinetics today. 803-281-6860.
107.5 The Game traffic from the Shepherd's Glass Traffic Center. Shepherd's Glass, a true reflection of quality. shepherdsglass.com.
And still have a couple slowdowns to let you know about. Bethany Church Road at South Lake Drive. Also, North Brickyard Road at North Springs Road. And an accident I-20 eastbound just after Highway 1. Your forecast? The fog is clearing, and then we're left with some rain and storms off and on today. 74 for the high, 51 for your overnight low. Drops down to 56 tomorrow with some morning rain, and then 68 on Friday. Some rain late in the day. But right now, it's 65 at 107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Allstate. Are you a safe driver? Are you looking to save money? With DriveWise from Allstate, the safer you drive, the more you can save. At Allstate, better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today.
Are you thinking about refinancing your home to get cash out for a renovation or to pay off debt? Save money with a cash out refinance from Cap Center.
We just helped a client who's a professional chef finance his dream kitchen. By avoiding typical closing costs, he had even more money for his vision.
Cap your closing costs. Visit capcenter.com. Equal housing lender. Visit capcenter.com for rates, savings, and offer limitations. NMLS ID 67717. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Forget about that cleaning tip you saw on Facebook and call the experts at Zero Res right now. Mention me, Bill Gunner, at 1075 The Game, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet clean for $109 plus a free hallway. Book online at ZeroResColumbia.com.
At the Samuels Reynolds Law Firm, we've seen how terrible accidents turn lives upside down, and we're proud to be the lawyers our clients depend on during their toughest moments. I'm Jason Reynolds. Call me when your family is faced with any serious injury or death.
And I'm Stephen Samuels. When you're hurt at work, I go to work, getting you the medical treatment and workers' compensation you depend on. We have the experience and passion you need when you need it most.
Samuels Reynolds. True injuries, true lawyers. 779-4000.
Hey Gamecock, Scott here with Gamecock Traditions, letting you know about our $10 t-shirt blowout going on now. Over 50 styles of assorted victory and retro designs are all marked down to $10 as we make room for the new merchandise set to be arriving very soon. Values up to $21.95, we've marked them all $10. That's not all. As part of the clearance, we are also moving styles from other brands to our clearance rack. So,
yeah, I went out, tried to fish a little bit yesterday, cast around the docks. I think it was a little too chilly in the pollen in the water. I was using a purple lizard. I forget the actual name of it. I need to see what the Lake Murray fishing report is. Huh? Did we just get an email? No, they need to start supplying breakfast. Wrapping up the Wednesday episode of the early game, the March the 9th episode here as we get you ready. Pearson Fowler up next, Jay, Tommy, and Terry from 12 to 3, and then Heath Klein, who is down in Tampa covering the SEC tournament for us. We'll have you from 3 to 6 this afternoon. Patrick, you made it. You that bad coffee that you initially fixed, did it got you through the 3 hours?
I mean, I survived, but I could clearly taste that it wasn't as strong either, so I'm a little bit more tired than usual. Might have to have another cup.
No, go get a nap. Go get a nap. We've had a good show. A lot of stuff that we got into. South Carolina, Xavier yesterday, 15-7. Certainly, the Gamecocks in Texas this weekend. We'll continue to preview that and
Pray
get
for
ready.
rain.
Pray for rain. Yeah, that's what Richard said. Richard's doing his rain dance out there. He's also, I think, doing a dance so that we don't.
Not Saturday. Please don't rain Saturday. I got to go to a wedding.
Okay, don't rain Saturday. Richards, don't dance on Saturday. Just Friday and Sunday there, but play all 3 games. Appreciate everybody being a part of the program. Anything you've missed, you can go back to our podcast page on 1075 The Game and listen. It's a 21-hour break. We'll do it all again tomorrow morning. Have a great afternoon.
Oh, all right.
Mark, good to see you jump in. Maybe I just missed you earlier.
Yeah,
Good
what's
to
up,
see you
Mark?
jump in. Larry, Ferrari, Troy. Cast, put rod down, grab beer. Yeah, I do enjoy the brim and crappie fishing more than I do the bass fishing. Too much action, too much work. So, all right, everybody.
That speaks
Patrick's-
volumes.
Yep, Jen's a good fish. Yep.
Yep. We'll see you.
Take care.
See you guys.